Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever Television Awards. Introducing your favorite host with the most toast in his roast, Grant Richardson.
Hi, what's up, guys? Thought you might like to see me in action. I don't know. Well, here's the Television Awardinos. There's not really much. It's kind of disappointing. In the past, weekly, you used to get something to watch, at least on some channel, to make you entertained and to take away the stress of a day's work, even as somebody making movies. These days, television might as well be a place where old people go to die and young people go to scream in boredom. But there were a few things that came out, so let's see here. First up, I guess because it's, I'm counting things, I don't even know if they were ever released on television, but things that were sort of episodic on the internet that should be on television. Beavis and Butthead. They took a lot of ideas that were example pieces of things that I came up with for what Beavis and Butthead's character were. You've got to realize this. Beavis and Butthead's characters are really hard to do correctly because there's a certain amount of aggression that, and I can never remember their names, the brown-haired one has towards the blonde-haired one. But it's not what you think it is. And so there was a lot of, how do I describe it? I guess I would say un-Beavis and Butthead-like aggression in a certain way that shouldn't have been there. For example, at the end of one of the episodes, because I was just making a reference, they fall into a swimming pool full of glue, and, because they're trying to catch raccoons by putting Doritos all over it or something, some sort of chip. And then they're stumbling down, and it's supposed to just be into the sunset, but it's like I had two vague ideas, and when somebody's like, kind of scratch that off a list, don't really do that. Well, they kind of did it, even though it's like, nah, scratch that, because it's like I had two different ideas of two different situations, one where they get fur all over them or something from raccoons, and the neighbor just bear sprays them for no fucking reason, which is completely absurd and not in the spirit of Beavis and Butthead. There's also some absurd amounts of violence and bullying it's not accurate. It's how do I describe it?
Well, here's the real issue, is that, you have the original Beavis and Butthead, the original concept of the live-action show, with real guys that just happened to look like us back in the early 70s, was that there's this feeling when your skull's grown wrong and everything's difficult to focus on. You get irritated really easy when different inputs are coming at you. So the Beavis character, I guess, I don't know, is always that way. He's always irritable. So he's not supposed to be beating on Butthead or whoever and everybody else to death. They've exaggerated it continuously over the decades. It's gotten way too violent. It's like a quick lashing out because there's a lance of pain going through the forehead or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. He's supposed to be annoyed, not intentionally a bully in any specific way.
Yeah, they're supposed to be constantly ill at ease by their physical malnormalities, whatever you call it.
Just, you call it that.
Yeah. So it's just,
yeah.
how many you can stack. You make up a fake face, you get it all ridiculous, and you imagine all the issues that would cause.
Yeah, but building up around somebody else's head and body with rubber so that
and that's
you could
why
smack each other in the head really hard.
It also, the concept of that was it would set whoever free who's doing the parts of Beavis and Butthead to talk about whatever they want, because then they can imagine their constraints of society and whatnot being gone. Then they can just make rude comments without even feeling violence about it like usually people do. Instead, it's just boneheaded, you know?
Yeah,
And that's why it's so much better in the modern era, all of them
it
sitting
comes
in front
from
of
the
the TV.
caveman, kind of the concept of the Neanderthal forehead, looming brow type of behavior, not so much the aggression.
Yeah.
Like everything, when you make fun of something too easily and yet it still works because that's how writing works. Like, I mean, it takes a lot of writing to write a character that has to be stupid. It's the same issue that a lot of shows have, like, Patrick in SpongeBob SquarePants. There's, like, for example, things that you've learned because you heard them, for example, on TV, and this is what Beavis and Butthead did. They would sit there and they would watch television.
Yeah.
Seems like a simple idea, right? But the complexity of it is that you have to somehow compile a large amount of observation into a stupid comment while pretending like the characters are very stupid. So sometimes you can get away, and this is what everybody has a problem with saying some sentences that mean more than they do, but they can't have the impression while they're saying them because they just heard them on television that they actually know fully what they mean. They have a vague idea of them is always the concept. And another thing about Beavis and Butthead that happens rarer but still happens is in the new episodes there's this problem with, I guess you would say, being too intelligent. Not very often, but sometimes.
Yeah, just like Patrick Star. They can't resist, They think, wouldn't it be funny if suddenly, because we, the writers or whoever, had a thought, and we usually don't, then maybe the characters should have a thought. Well, probably not.
Yeah, probably
not. They aren't
not.
supposed to be thinking.
It's really, really true with Beavis and Butthead, though. There's not supposed to be a whole lot of thought there. That's why it's so difficult to get it just right.
Yeah, just reactions. You see, the thing about, it's like a human-animal concept. They're reacting, and that would mean as a human animal, massive waves of imagination. So they just say dumb things kind of simply that they imagine in connection to everything, and that's entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. I guess there's some other episodes that are problematically not the way they should be. For example, I just had examples while struggling myself to write Beavis and Butthead better with my own thoughts, and those were just taken wholesale without much effort, like them climbing a roof and then one of them, falling off and putting the ladder back up. It wasn't a good example. It was like, I may have even said it was a bad example at the time, but that I was still going with it just to try to get ballpark region of what Beavis and Butthead are.
Yeah.
But there are some good episodes. But there's also some very mediocre / unfinished ones.
Basically. You talked about Beavis. I didn't really come up with anything for this, but when it comes to what we've seen, because really when it comes to Beavis and Butthead, they were especially just taking ideas out of thin air, man. Whatever they can get. So, my idea with such stupid drivel like that is usually you want to pretend you're being like purely evil, whatever, infectious, whatever negative words, while instead it's just a vehicle, the potty humor or whatever is just, they're fucking with raccoons in a dumpster. That's Beavis and Butthead, Anything that's just taken for granted in society, that shouldn't be as a problem or not a problem, they're there pointing it out with just observations.
Yeah, instead of opinions.
Yeah.
Instead of opinions.
Yeah, they don't have
as much opinion as you would think. Everything is just based off of a few teenager concepts, like, sort of like that's metal, but instead the word is cool. How people would say that's metal or something, like that's really badass. But instead, it's just that's cool or that's not cool. They're so stupid, in fact, because I have watched the original episodes, that it's almost like they're so unafraid of anything because it's supposedly cool by society's taught perceptions that they'll do things that hurt themselves, for example, or not be afraid of people that they should be because they're cool, even though, for example, they're stupid and just crashed a car and they're laying on the front of it and there's cut up face everywhere and the guy's like, help me, and they're like, whoa dude, you're cool. And he's like, no, help me. And they're like, whoa, dude, that's cool. And they keep like not getting the point, and it's like a joke in and of itself as they ironically make comments that are fun. That's the part where you have to write things.
Yeah, it's like people, what you need to learn about the show is there's two types of people interacting with them. The ones that are themselves crazy and think they're adults, like principals and anybody who thinks they have a swollen head and they're important and push papers around or anything.
Yeah, like jewelry store
Like,
owners.
they think they're smart because they're desperate to, like, have society be narrow and only work for them. So then they're the dumbest of all, and Beavis and Butthead are constantly getting them to overreact. But then what can they really do in that situation? Because they're just retards that are whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
which reaches into the final concept, which is the concept that Beavis and Butthead's kind of trying to prove, which is that there's retards all around us, and that they're sometimes stupider than the people you would think are the stupidest, because they take everything seriously, which is the number one thing Beavis and Butthead plays on.
Yeah.
Because they'll just keep taking, for example, Beavis and Butthead seriously, or keep like letting them talk instead of even just telling them to specifically leave. They just keep, because they're so self-important, they want to believe that they're smarter than the person, so they're actually becoming like stupider in the moment, because keep talking, stupid person is the theme of most of the episodes. I'm so much more intelligent, as then they're suddenly driven insane or made fun of in some way they can't handle because they're too fucking stupid.
I would recommend, because I brought up that half, the other half that they've seemed to have forgotten from the original show, which is, then there's the other half of people who are very driven in life, and they're not crazy, and they're slightly more adult-like, because they have certain hobbies or extremes that they want to express or do. So then, they just exploit the hell out of Beavis and Butthead. Like a band that needs people who rock hard in the audience, so they put Beavis and Butthead on a pedestal because they can shake their heads for a half hour while they play heavy metal and get people into their concert.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's trying to take advantage of them, or they're too stupid and think they're smarter than them and then just get taken advantage of by them.
Yeah, the concept here is though that all of it is rather meaningless and just kind of a constant mockery of how everybody thinks they're so fucking smart when they're really not. So, for example, let's look at a stupid like thing that Beavis and Butthead would do. Jewelry store example. They walk into the jewelry store of any business, the tons of them have them.
Yeah.
And they say, do you have any like manufactured diamonds?
Yeah.
And then he's all like, I heard that manufactured diamonds are like superior.
Yeah.
And then the person goes into an infinite tirade as they're making fun of him. Because they are superior in real life, you know what I mean? But they don't even know one way or another, but he keeps getting more angry because, for example, he knows, because he's a scam artist, which are always stupid, that manufactured diamonds are cheaper, come in a variety of colors, can be used to make lights different colors along with quartz lights, and yet all he cares about is the bottom line of his stupid little issue.
Yeah, and so the number one thing that the Beavis and Butthead should be doing is drawing from people's real experiences. Like, I made fun of a Voyager off-road vehicle thing that was like a false separate group making them as smaller group people and saying it was an official line. That whole thing, like what I'm saying is Beavis and Butthead go around and like sucker people into, because they're so dumb, into acting like they need to interact with them. So like, what? Like the jewelry store example, if I was going to do an episode there to continue what you're saying is, then, one of them would act like they're gay and they're a gay couple, and he's like, but I really want to try it on, and act like vaguely stupid. So then like he's trying on and like checking in the light, like the sparkle of the gems versus other ones. And then like, randomly, the other one's like, slipping loose gems into his fucking back pocket and going, as the guy's like glaring at him and like saying like, how dare you, like, because the guy becomes so caught up in the fact that one of them's gay, you just keep exploiting it.
Yeah, exactly. For example, I like your example of the Explorer that we made fun of because it would be terrible off-road and smash you up and down and bend all over the place.
Yeah.
So it's like, they keep challenging some person to prove that it's good, and then he throws a tantrum and is all like, you know what, You know, like you can be in it and try it out, like the Earth Roamer that's like the crappy one without even the window, that's not even the official company one that has like proper windows that don't collect mold on the inside.
Yeah.
So then the joke is they're like in a preview for it, and they're like smashing up and down all over the place, you know, inside of it while somebody's driving. And it's like making it look worse than it ever looked before because they're so reckless and, you know, like immediately get out of their seat belts, and it's like not even that bumpy of a road and didn't do what they were said they were going to, and they're smashing around all over the place.
Yeah, and of course it's a live stream demonstration for no reason. Yeah.
Yeah, just absurdity, you know?
Yeah, you're supposed to get them into absurd scenarios like they're at a NASCAR event, they somehow get official suits on. Then, like, you know, hot ladies are flirting with them. Then, like, you know, from the back, one of them looks like the, you know, race car driver. So the guy comes up and slams a helmet on him and says, "Get in the car, go, go, go," you know, what are you doing, or whatever. While the real guy's, you know, sick and passed out from taking too many pills in the background or something.
Yeah, he's taking too much diazepam or diazepam, and he's
which, of course, you know, they somehow accidentally, you know, give them too many pills, you know, as they always do. I'm just trying to come up with episodes so we have content here, because we have zero TV the last few years.
It's really bad, and I mean, like I keep repeating, a director and actor at the end of the day, they go home. Everybody partakes in entertainment that makes entertainment. Nobody says, "I only make entertainment, I don't consume it." So it would be nice to have more television, you know, in general.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm just trying to say is that Beavis and Butthead, the golden rule of the show that was always observed by, you know, the original person making the cartoon, was that when you're doing Beavis and Butthead, they need to always come out on top. They're the heroes for being the stupidest, most inbred Americans. You don't even know if they're inbred. You don't even know if they've been run over by a car. That's what people are acting like. They don't even know how, you know, mangled and hideous they are. Yeah. And it just puts them off and always makes them, you know, like, unable to handle Beavis and Butthead because they're so fucking fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, here's another episode idea. Beavis, they get into a basketball game, and the coach says, "Let's bring in our secret weapon." It's like, you know, university level, and it's like supposed to be somebody from like another continent who's like extra good because he's tall or whatever. Then it's just Beavis or Butthead, you know, again, or both of them. I would say it's like it's the duo from somewhere, and then, you know, because they're kind of tall and retarded, so then they're like, "Hey Beavis, yeah, let's get out there and play." So then they like redo their grade school trick where they like, you know, fake, like he's supposed to pass it and there's a few seconds left in the game. So he's like, you know, the expert, you know, guarder, you know, near the lines, like keeping him from throwing it into Beavis or anybody else. So then he just, you know, he just goes, "Hey, check this out." And then he like makes his eyes go both direction. Then the guy goes, "Huh?" And then he like hits him in the nuts and like flings it to Beavis. And then Beavis like does like a shot and it goes in and the buzzer goes off and everybody goes crazy, you know. And they pick him up and, you know, rush him all around. And then, you know, and somewhere in the middle of it, they're like getting interviewed and the real guys come out and they're all angry. And then, like, the security, you know, fat guys that shouldn't exist that pop out of nowhere. You know, like, you need to cut to some security guy out in his car. Like a little tiny, like, Datsun, you know, little car outside the stadium with his scalp ticket. And he's like, "It's the perfect time. I can get in and be security." Then, like, he like, goes in just to, like, you know, attack the, real basketball players as they come out as, you know, Beavis and Butthead are being interviewed. Just because, you know. There's another episode
proving how crazy some security is, which was the concept of something on that was made already, and they for some reason wanted to embrace, just like people always embrace it, the concept of all-encompassing negativity, where they could be hurt by this type of concept instead of, you know, saved by the logic of recognizing the issue sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And that's a real problem, is, you know, who you're going to work with in general.
So I would always recommend a season of Beavis and Butthead where they go around and everybody's looking for work because of Corona, you know, everybody's just dated. So then, like, they easily supposedly are the new guys. At the beach, you know, every type of scenario. It's
Yeah.
easy.
I guess I'd just say when Beavis and Butthead, the roof episode is really bad. It just sticks out to me. It's just not as logical as it should be because you don't take things from me wholesale when I can't always be logical, guys. I can't always be a rational person. It doesn't make any sense. No one is.
Yeah. Yeah, Beavis and Butthead, airline pilots, corn maze farmers, everything. I don't know. Whatever. Coast Guard. I don't care. Let's see what's next up here. Space Dandy.
Space Adunda.
Boy, so yeah, this was developed off of our ideas mostly in conjunction with actually working with the illustrator, whatever, concept head.
Yeah, the storyboard panelist.
Yeah.
Crowley. Stone, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
I don't know why he pretended like it wasn't him when I was talking to him. But that's kind of insulting, to be honest. Anyway, it's pretty much the best anime since One Punch Man. In fact, it's much superior to One Punch Man or anything else. It's just about space hooters and a man who needs to find rare and exotic things to bring to a woman so she can bang them. But that's like supposedly not what she's doing.
Well, yeah, because as usual, the show is a rough sketch. The animations are only half done. The frames are too low. Nothing's been finished. So, whenever it's that case, there's always another pastor's child or something, an old person, an old folks home. I don't know who to blame. We could go through a list of people who want to remove sexuality. So, that's been done to it.
Yeah, massively. There's all sorts of different scenes and sequences in which there's supposed to be actual sex.
Yeah, like
and it's been removed.
Like all our ideas, he's like, when we were talking to the creator, he's like, so what's a good idea for just sexuality out in the open? And I'm like, well, an orgy. So then there's the episode where there's different versions of him from different universes who happen to look different ways conveniently, but have a swag attitude for a porn scene with the Hooters woman.
Yeah.
And it's just, nope, the episode is just that. You get to the point where the rest of the half of it would be the porn, and it's just random filler that's nothing. Just drawn by just shitheads.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I don't know what to say. And then they act like because there's even rougher storyboards that are actually there, then somehow because most of the ideas are barely established, they just come in and just act like there's a low quality, crusty season 2 that just doesn't exist, that isn't finished.
And there's only a few ideas
just
in the first
scraping the butt cheeks off of the storyboard floor and just just
yeah, and
terrible.
they're always rushing. It's the sketch artists, that are up to no good. They just sketch to act like they're getting something for themselves, but without any real concept of why or how,
And the number one thing that I have to say I'm impressed by is Crowley singing in the High School Musical joke episode where it's all about being famous, because I said the only thing interesting about high schools is the fictitious nature of them in things, not the reality.
Yeah, just the,
So then
man,
there's
we're
an
30,
8-year-old
we're coming back into high school.
Yeah, they're very out of touch. Everybody wants to go back to high school for no reason. The joke, as people like me and Crowley, Stone, whatever his name is, we don't like high school. We don't like doing that shit. It's a hell for artists. That's why the joke is, hey, what if it was 4 people who sing and dance? And then, because it hasn't been released yet, there's just crazy people who pre-animate it. It hasn't come out for anybody, and it's just terrible, 80-year-old woman singing and all these other people with the audio bitrate so low quality that they're pretending they sound good, but nobody would say so because they wish they were still in high school regardless of age. Everybody's like, you still got it, your face is smooth, oh baby, they look in the mirror, you could blend in high school, hello fellow kids.
What's absurd is Napoleon Dynamite, it's like trying to to cautiously make fun of people about high school, but it's so cautious that nobody gets it. Like, it's a joke. It's a porn movie again, also. They're just there in Preston, Idaho, opposite from our side of the state, just to make porn about how bad my life is, you know? It's a joke.
Yeah, it's a joke. It's a joke, but with like the concept of the reality of how big of assholes everybody's been in our lives.
Yeah. So, yeah, high school, that episode, it was kind of funny, but when anybody does it, they still have a feeling like it's affected them. Like they want high school to have been something. Because teenage years, there's so many hormones smashing you different directions. You remember things. So sitting around in a boring building that does nothing for you, they wish it did something.
Yeah, and that's the real tragedy, is if it was actually High School Musical, it might actually be worth something.
Yeah, if high school was just physical activities of every sort.
Yeah, just wood shop, metal shop, baking, cooking, you know, like
Swimming,
learning dancing,
sports.
band class, sports.
Yeah, that's it. If that was just all day.
Yeah, track and field, you know, all the different things.
You know, drama,
Calligraphy.
stage, yeah. Photography, and filmmaking, whatever. All the different stuff of actually getting ready to live your life in different ways.
Instead of just mathematics. And science can go by the wayside. Oh, they don't care about, you know, for example, what wavelengths of light do through different mediums. They don't care about what different materials density means in association with other different densities of materials. No, none of that. Just what does this long division program mean into something else in a small, compacted little thing that you're supposed to know everything about with two big, whatever the fuck these are around it, like quotation, asterisk, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
I guess I would just say that Space Dandy, there's nothing wrong with it. It proves a lot of moral lessons, including why everybody's a zombie because they eat raw meat, and it's sort of like a joke, like cook your fucking food.
Yeah, I mean, it gets a lot of points across. Like, for example, I just like the feeling of it because it's this whole concept that my life has always been where it's like, oh my god, there's fucking Calvinists everywhere, Mormons, you know, every single type of annoying, indoctrinated people whose brains are all drilled with boring voices, and then they try to project them out at you. So my life is like avoid, you know, get a little bit of work done, make it fun. But then sex, it looms, you know? So you have to go to town, you have to go wherever. So back in the day, you know, when it comes to different things like Hooters, I would go there, I would eat a whole load, like 100. I started with 50, then I went to 100 chicken wings. And the point is, get as much food into you as possible, and then to actually burn it calorically. And there's some point there when you're young where it turns sexual. You eat a ton of sodium-laced chicken, you stare at the big mommy milkers at the place, and that's what the whole show is about. It's just that. Him just getting back to that by earning credits in the system, you know? So it's really grim, but it's making fun of how grim reality is completely constantly. I don't know.
Yes, while being Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
Being the better version of Elvis Presley.
Exactly.
You've got your noni juice,
Oh,
I've
yeah.
got your powder first. There's
Yeah.
nothing in there.
Okay.
Just the powder. And then there's, I've got your,
Let's see here. I really appreciate the effort put into Space Dandy in association with a certain type of realism where when you have a force in any ordinary cartoon or anime, it's so incredibly stupid that they would never succeed at anything. You know, never, ever. And that's kind of the theme here, is that the villain never succeeds at anything, rather than constantly succeeding like any other cartoon or anything else. They just don't succeed. Because they're incompetent.
Yeah, it kind of provides a structure, doesn't it? Where every show, it's good to have a structure because people, they can't think that fast and loose, so it's just every time Space Dandy gets into trouble, then whoever's chasing him shows up and gets the trouble up their ass, you know.
That's the
It's
theme
funny.
of that. Like how
Yeah.
the theme of Beavis and Butthead is always like somehow ending up on the intellectual superiority while being stupider than the people that they're around. Perceptionally, as if they did something without trying. That's
Yeah.
why it's hard to write.
So, like, if I was to jump over and compare it to, say, Team Rocket always creating scenarios in Pokemon for more sex, more violence, more things happening. Just absurdly. However, like, that's Fast and Loose, you know, just made up ridiculous reasons why they're involved, you know, and I'd like to see some episodic content after we get those movies going where it's like live action and still has some porn and some adventure. I mean, I think that's what people want out of Pokemon.
Yeah, and they don't take it very seriously. Most people, they can't really masturbate.
Yeah, it's just entertainment.
It's kind of funny to them is what I'm saying. I think it's kind of, the you know, Kitty Boy Johnny's kind of cute and funny, and so I approve wholeheartedly, and he has the same dietary habits as me, which is a huge, like, it matters a lot to somebody like me because I've seen so much eating of undercooked meat. I've seen so much terrible behavior when it comes to diet where you just eat deep fried garbage, and I'm really sick of that.
Yeah, so here's hoping for some more TV in different categories. I guess we can go to the next thing here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I thought it was Star Wars next. So with Star Wars, there was the TV... Ow, I might as well click back the other thing. I like looking at myself. I'm so handsome.
So handsome.
Okay, anyways. The cartoon was really, you know, was like the core Star Wars fans who actually talk, trying to develop storylines that can set up for more movies in the future, and I thank them because it has. Just like with Harry Potter, with anything, the work of the actual enthusiasts over the years and decades to get here to now where the technology and the people with the brain power and the physical actions necessary can all come together and we can start getting this done in all the different categories. It's like originally Harry Potter was supposed to be so episodic with all the different characters in Hogwarts all having extreme personalities and being interesting. Like, we could have gotten TV show episodes out of those kids all those years. And instead, there was just all kinds of arguments and fake lawsuits and endless people getting on a set that should never have been allowed on there. We gotta have a rule that if children are supposedly making content, then they can't be exposed to just whoever. And
Exactly.
it was too much like that. You need to have the same people being exposed to the actual children on set in that circumstance so we can get TV out of something without exploiting anyone.
Precisely. About the Kenobi show itself, I mean, it's necessary to explain an infinite number of years that nobody has an explanation for from a giant gap in Star Wars. It just is necessary. It has to exist. And it did what it did well, except for the fact that, like, you know, I made an example and they just took it and ran with it. Once again, I can't always be perfect. I can't always be intelligent. Sometimes I'm Beavis and Butthead, you know? That's why they look a little bit like us. And, you know, sometimes, you know, some of the themes are a little bit like us. Like, these cash boxes are so easy to break into. As everybody vilifies the concept of us getting money. As if we're the ultimate criminals because, you know, we deserve money for what we've done in life.
Yeah, it's built up in everyone's heads as if it's a safety blanket that society's bad, they can sleep good at night because somebody's getting screwed over, you know, that's the feeling going on.
And that's not acceptable. That, you know, that always ends with somebody breaking into your house in the middle of the night and stabbing you multiple times. I'm telling you this.
It destroys society, yeah.
Because those people say, well, I'm not even allowed to you know, draw. I'm not allowed to use my voice acting talents. And these other fucking people, I'm just telling you, I'm not promoting anything. This has happened before. When you create a guild a guild is the worst thing ever in any industry. It's basically just a setup so that people can become royalty.
Yeah.
Generationally.
And that's interesting with Star Wars, you mentioned
Then
that.
people
because
want to kill you and end your guild.
they try to imagine the Star Wars movies from the 70s, which were ripping off official government movies at the time, that those unofficial sort of ones...
federally funded fantasy, like, space films.
So the rip-off ones were doing their own porn that was supposedly slightly edgier or something, and they will pretend it was British designed or something, but all the actors were just regular known people from the US. It's the same with Harry Potter. It's not British run. I'm sorry. It's absurd to say that. It's a tiny island. Everybody funneling their desire for conquering the world through British colonialism is just absurd. No one's British.
And it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Don't forget that. It's disgusting, bizarre, and perverse. As if they affect themselves with a British accent, then they deserve everything, baby.
Yeah. So yeah, Star Wars. One of the things I gotta bring up when it comes to the Yoda stuff, Baby Yoda, is I'm gonna have to look through it a little more and make up Baby Yoda. Come on, it's gotta be like the descendant or something relative.
Yeah, because instead what I said is it would be hilarious to have Baby Yoda, not in association with anything they did, you have to realize. Once again, taking my ideas and running with them too far without enough other ideas to even make it anything. I just said, wouldn't it be hilarious if Baby Yoda pulled a bolt off of a AT-AT walker and it slams into him and blows him across, and he's being puppeted around and just these stupid scenes, and then they just say that they're making a whole show. I said, okay, they want to make a Boba Fett continuation show, and I mocked it, and then that's all it is. So if it's bad, it's because they took mockery and said that it was serious. Boba Fett goes to every crime boss and gets the shit kicked out of him like it's on a checklist, gotta get my shit kicked in by this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy, because he's one dude. He doesn't have anything. He's a hired gun. It doesn't make any sense, so then they just did it, and it makes even less sense.
I'm sorry, okay, here's the thing. I always just make everything porn, so while I was talking, I was just thinking through what he was saying. You know how there's yordles in League of Legends, and it addresses the issue with people's pedophilia? If it's size play, then why I'm bringing this up at all is because my thoughts immediately were,
everybody's sexually attracted to Baby Yoda, even though they shouldn't be.
They shouldn't be. So I'm trying to divert that here with my concept, which is Baby Yoda he's like a floating point algorithm, what they've done with him. Kind of like my life with Raffi. So what I would do with the show is say, no, he's like a projected reality that's trying to be achieved through time and space. So the whole time that he's going around, whoever the hell, the bounty hunter, protecting this baby, instead he's just going around, the Force is guiding him, the baby is there as the Force, like it already happens in Star Wars. And instead there's just some pregnant, Yordle woman somewhere, and she's in a terrible scenario, and there's endless slavery going on. So he's just going around and eliminating all these fucking gangsters all over the place until finally, there's freedom and she can escape from some planet or something. And she's the mother of Yoda. I don't know.
See, my major huge problem with what they did with Kenobi, coming a little bit back the other direction with this conversation, is that, for example, and it's obviously not supposed to be that way, I gave another example, a bad example, because I was just saying what Star Wars does and it's stupid, so people embrace it with loving arms, of course, but that doesn't make it good, is that they're just harvesting meat from a dead creature in the middle of the desert, even though what I said was in the middle of a frozen location, so it's refrigerated, so it makes sense why it's just dead, and then they're just making cuts of it.
Because they're desperate.
But that has nothing to do with Kenobi either.
Yeah.
They just suddenly had a scene where he's just harvesting meat from a creature that's magically not rotting in the desert sand.
They just replaced the snow texture with sand texture, and they just said, ha ha, what are you going to do about it?
In other words, they went completely fucking insane. And there's like tons of hobo retards all over in the show that actually look like homeless people, as
Yeah.
if somehow they got onto a set with green screen and got their way. So I really don't like that either. That puts a huge dampener on the show.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like, what I would do with that, just because, like, I'm always like, okay, it happened, is I would just say the John Cena effect, where, like, horror, bring that into, like, so hobo aliens came down to that planet, and they're trying to immediately fuck everything up, and they're dying immediately, and he's just there, which is always brings me back to the concept of, why are these TV shows where the young boy's hiding out and his secret father or guy who knew his father is somewhere nearby living in a hut, not fucking the ladies nearby for no fucking reason, like he's looking through binoculars with pedophile intent on the boy, like, why? To protect him, right? So Kenobi is protecting him, so he'd have to have a scene where he eliminates all the hobos. He gets into their, spacecraft that's come down, that's doing that and trying to infect everything, and kills them all. But that doesn't happen in it.
No, instead he's one of them or something stupid.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Like, sure, he can infiltrate as one of them so he can cut them all to pieces,
All I'm saying is that the show is it has a good conclusion because I came up with a conclusion.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that the rest of the show is good, and that's what happens when you don't pay me. And I'm not being paid right now. I'm broke as fuck. I live in a shitty cold house. And that's just what my fucking opinion is. I should be living in a fucking mansion with a hot spring heating being pumped through the walls in the mountains.
Yeah, other people act like they can't just get up and move, but, I can.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, that's all.
I could live anywhere. So my point is this. Don't expect me to fix everything with the show just because I watched it and it was bad. I ain't doing that. The end. You ain't paying me money? Fuck you, Christian Haydenson and Ewan McGregor. Fuck you, you sons of bitches.
Yeah, so they had
And don't
some great
steal
drama.
Star Wars lightsaber fights from me with your crippled ass arms, because those are for two-handed people, and our plastic little shitty lightsabers are for machete fighting style. And there's no possible fucking way the audience will crucify you
Yeah,
if you suddenly pull out hand lightsabers.
We did our own lightsaber content. We haven't edited and released it, but the only thing about it is we were using such thin plastic lightsabers, like he's saying, that are the newest dollar store tech, so hence nothing. And you have to be really gentle, which brings back the concept of they're supposed to be shooting sparks everywhere, so it allows us to play off of that concept a little bit, rather than them just spinning it around and smacking at each other. Like, it's sort of fun, but highly unrealistic.
But that's what people want.
Yeah.
And they're not gonna fucking compromise and have them daintily touching each other.
So it's fine what they're doing because it's more dance, which keeps it lively and keeps them in shape and keeps the storyline limping along barely in the movies. But I would come in if you paid me and make it appropriately gritty with different things happening.
One of the most
that feel more realistic.
One of the most important things to remember is lightsabers turn on and off. I don't know why the entire time, even though they do, nobody ever threatened anybody with it. Why they don't ever turn it off to dodge somebody else's beam to getting closer and then try to swing at them again. I'm not sure why none of that ever happened even once, but just saying, it didn't happen in this show either, so.
Yeah. Okay, I want more TV, so here's an idea. I'm sorry, guys, but seriously. They wear these, like, weird brown cloaks the whole time, like they're peasant monks, or something weird for the Catholic Church. So, where's the sexuality out of the Jedi Council? I'm sure it's gotten corrupt. So, like, you could make, like, some sort of, joke, like, as the Catholic Church. But what I'm mainly going with this is their robes are pointless. They're what? A demonstration that they're pious and that they're secretly Amish? No, the robes need to have significance. So, like, for example, why shouldn't they be blaster-proof somewhat? Why shouldn't they be, like, oily brown and, like, deflect things? Why shouldn't, when a lightsaber hits them, it like sizzles and skids off of it? You know what I mean?
Because it doesn't matter if it's fantasy cloth. You know, you could just say that it's got metachlorine in it.
Yeah, whatever.
Metachlorine, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. My point is just, overall, the Star Wars show was too disappointing in various points for me not, when it was available online, for me to skip through because it just wasn't what I wanted. I don't want to stare at homeless people cutting chunks of meat off a rotting creature in the desert, for example.
Yeah. So their actual fight, unlike what we can do, they have digital nerds who will to dictate what the types of fights they should do, and then the nerds will put it together for them. So again, I'm thanking those artists for doing the digital, because it's kind of like the end fight with the pillars of brown, you know, whatever on the planet, and they're floating around attacking each other. I was just wondering, it doesn't really seem done either when we watched it a couple months ago, because I was like, wouldn't Darth Vader be floating all over amidst them while like the other guys like force jumping off of them and like flipping all over the place? Wouldn't they be like falling over and like crushing each other with them, and then he like force pushing them at each other? Instead, there's just a scene where little boulders are being flung retardedly, which is all right. It's
one
another
pillar
thing.
snapped off and pushed away. It's definitely feels like, you know, you could just do more and spend longer and just have a better time with it. You know what I mean? There's no reason to be so
like
hasty.
you know, one falls over towards Darth Vader, and then the other guy's like running on it towards him as it falls, and then like jumps, you know, as it crashes in a huge wave of dust, like out of the dust towards him, you know, stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, and it's impossible for me to, like, there's already jokes been made that my internet's bad. And it's being cycled, for example, right now into the red zone.
Over and over, so that my like
voice
a heartbeat.
Constantly catching, like that heartbeat noise you hear from my cunt-ass cunt. Anyways, my point is that it's just a continuous issue, because what? I can't even direct if I wanted to. I can't do convenient live streams. I have to upload videos of my ideas if I want to show off specific movements, and they really need to be shown off. I can't just make them to thin air and expect people to abuse a fuckload of cactus LSD and see them. That's absurd. This is getting stupid.
The other issue is,
stop stealing all my ideas and just bastardizing them.
Where we live here, like as though the whole world has been plunged back into primitive absurdities suddenly, coronavirus onwards. Like we broke through the crust into retard land. There is no high-speed internet. There's stupid, retarded commercials talking about this or that light-speed internet, but you compare them to 5 or 10 years ago when actually you could go to people's houses and they'd have it. Nobody has it anymore. And none of those people who lived here are in those houses. It's like La La Land. No, there is no fast internet for however long still here. I can't find it. It just doesn't seem to be available even. It's a dire strait, and I don't know how long that trend continues. It could suddenly stop next week or continue to 2028 at the long set. I don't know. We could never be able to direct. I don't know.
My point is always the same. You keep taking only the ideas you want, including the ones like as if it's just a non-stop whatever I'm saying, and I really do. You really are this fucking stupid, all of you, actors and directors and everyone. You have no ideas. There's no such thing as originality. We are the originality, and that's become apparent a long time ago. And when I'm just talking to thin air, and you're just sitting there in a cactus trance, and I'm not joking about any of this. I'm not joking about this. I could be standing in the middle of the forest by a stream and be talking about it, and it'll still come out as a fucking stupid movie. I just say, hey, like, look at that fish. That fish is extra ugly, right after having a conversation about how, man, they really need to make Iron Will too. And then Iron Will, he just says, look at that particular fish. That fish is ugly. I'm fucking sick of it.
That is the type of content they
and it's
want.
just anything I go along in order. So I could be suddenly switched to talking about nachos. Oh, well, now he's talking about nachos in whatever you made. I'm getting really sick of it.
And so here's the thing. I've had interactions with some celebrities, not through phone or something. It's just like you just have a connection to them. So all they have to say is the better ones is that we are providing, while it's not fair and it's not relevant, sometimes, just in slight ways, it is just that we have positive conversations, real imaginations, so that allows people to have a basis to start from of positivity and sections of their brain connected to creativity. But that has nothing to do with just spying on everything somebody says and just verbatim using it that way.
Yeah, there's been multiple things now that just verbatim try to go along with what I'm saying, and then sometimes try to twist it, to where, they're saying the opposite of what it is right at the key point where you shouldn't say that, or trying to use an example that's of what you would never do and just use that too because I didn't say anything. Because I'm not going to give everybody free shit all the fucking time when they fucking won't even give me a goddamn fucking good stove in my actual house I want to live in.
Because when it comes to TV, it's like everybody acts like it's part of their lifestyle. They sit on their couch and watch it, and it's in their home. It's accessories to their living, even as they sit there and 0% believe they can do any of the things on screen. So my point here is just, with TV especially, I don't want to rant back up into TV where there's a mountain man with a beard trimmed like mine cutting wood somewhere, and then SWAT shows up, and then he karate kicks them the way Grant kicks, and then suddenly it switches to a woman working out like Christiana does at the gym with the same movements. I hate that. It's horrible.
You're being, like, you see, there's a definition. I like to say this, and I want to establish this right now. There's the definition of a kind-hearted pervert, and there's the definition of a murderous fucking, how do I describe it? What's the opposite of kind-hearted? Malicious and deviled in hell's egg kitchen, basically. Smelling of sulfur and brimstone of their own bullshit. And there's been way too much of that behavior in association with even perving on my sister and acting like as if, you can just take things from her life and just make them a part of your existence culturally.
So when it comes to TV, Marvel has pretty much failed at TV so far, and we're trying to get to this point where we get major movies released with younger people. Then it builds up kind of momentum, and we come up with a bunch of ideas for TV show episodes. So it's like miniseries building the movies, more like that type of content. And I'm not really in contact with my family anymore for years. And yet, Christiana, boy, she's alive and well out there with the big muscles. She still works out at the gym way more than we do because we overdid it, got sicker, all this stuff. My point is, I'm supposed to be inserting her like I trained her to be into Marvel her whole life. I told her she was going to be. And she needs to slot in there. There needs to be the TV show stuff going on in the movies, and it needs to be all comfortable with interactions of people of younger ages. I don't care if they're similar, just younger. So then, the problem is what? There's perv weight against us, so what? Christiana steps onto a movie set, and I'm telling everybody day one, anybody like that, pervs will just pop out of nowhere. You have to have set security. You have to have standards. You have to have plans of some kind for structure. I don't know what to say. We have to get this problem over with when it comes to security, when it comes to TV shows too. You need to actually just be hiring regular looking dudes. Not huge dudes, not fat dudes, not old dudes, just regular people that are just generally looking around with a positive attitude, looking for people with negative attitudes.
And not to be hired for security necessarily. They could be hired, and this is very important, to be doing actual set work, but instead they're just, security.
Yeah.
Like they would build a set, they put in, QLED panels, whatever they're doing. You need a consciousness.
Yeah, that's a good point. You could assign different people to be on the watch out who do other minor jobs, and then
this
like
normal
just a thought,
sensation. Like security is about being secure, not about having people, like I always reference from this thing that made it entirely negative because it was my negative example. I'm still not mentioning the show. Fuck those people. Where they just allow the concept that you could hire a sociopath, and then before you know it, you're being attempted to be murdered 24/7. Like I said, is never supposed to happen.
Yeah, like where's the list of everybody on set with different colors assigned to their names, meaning what they do on set, with the key next to it, on a clipboard that people can reference anyone, and with a little face showing their, and then people can have a name tag as they go around doing stuff. Like, it's not about it's so big nobody can know who anyone is. It's about getting to know who everybody is.
Yeah.
And feeling comfortable enough to say that face, that name, just ask for something.
Yeah, you should be comfortable with the people that, put together the wire work for you, the people who, put up the green pads, everybody who does everything.
Yeah.
And this doesn't mean a cult. That just means being friendly.
It's just business. I don't know.
It's just good business. And for example, bad business is thinking that it'll never come back on you, to take everything that two guys say in their own private lives and bizarre fucking things that have even happened to them and just keep taking. Eventually it's going to come back on you, and there will be a lynch mob.
Yeah, because, we're getting off topic, but it seems like since 2012 and the disasters that were predicted, none of that really happened. You just get a few more geological features going on, and then everybody just whining and using massive amounts of illegal drugs. That's really what's happened.
Yeah, instead of even herbal concentrates, instead of anything, instead of peyote acid concentrate from a little herbal vial, they're just trying to get the last of the dirty, disgusting LSD that's extracted from pig brains or something fucking perverse.
And so, when it comes to set security, there's the matter of substances that can hurt the actors or something.
Exactly.
The food and drinks, it needs to be openly discussed, it needs to be arranged, no mysteries.
And like I always repeat, like it's been said a billion times, just because an actor is a sex addict, don't have sex with them just because they want it.
So when everybody comes on to set at first, when it comes to starting a movie, they always coming at it, oh man, how are we going to get to the first scenes getting filmed? When everybody first gathers, shouldn't they instead be wondering, how are we going to make a living structure out of everything, everybody has to do different tasks that function so that nobody gets hurt, and nobody sneaks onto the set. I don't know. Just some thoughts.
Yeah, some really good thoughts, some really basic, really good thoughts. I just like to point out that, my life is so incredibly miserable that it's not like I'm going to continue to have advanced thoughts forever either. Especially when I'm being forced to constantly looming at me that for all time and eternity, they expect me to work jobs after they physically fucking abuse me. I'm talking about all of you, anybody you watching. While I can barely stand, even if I look more muscular, I'm just regaining some amount of vitality from the amount of injuries that I've sustained and the amount of sickness that I've felt. You can't have it both ways. You can't keep expecting more things, more entertainment out of somebody while you never, ever, ever allow them to have any time off for themselves and keep pressing on them. I'm talking about me here, not even my brother. Where, you refuse to let me do any job I'm good at. And the last time I worked a job, like I'm pointing out, and it is all of society's fault. The man who was there bullied me continuously. I can't stand on hard floors. It fucking breaks my back. I've never been able to. All these different factors. I'm not a strong man. I'm just an athletic man. So, you know, and then he was fucking fired. But what did it do me? I was fired from a temporary work job at Walmart, and it was already killing me in the first place. There's no easy way out for you fucks. Well, because you won't ever get anything ever again. If I get deader, then I'll stop thinking again, and then you'll get nothing.
There's no easy way out because the first of the violence happened at Walmart. I'm sorry, but like how people try to get onto movie sets, it just happened. I'm sorry, but where I worked at Walmart at the same time, as everybody in existence just simultaneously were just like, beep, boop, no jobs available, but also try to apply for jobs, just Walmart. Then we get those jobs, illogically, as though every job is taken, and we only get an $8 an hour job at Walmart at night, overnight. So then, that's impossible, right? You say, how could such wages exist? Yet they did. And so while I was working there, every single employee was a unique racial spectrum. All the type of people that you would want, say, in a crew, on a movie set, being the main action heroes with big machine guns, and yet somehow we were all taken from where we belonged and given a state of mind with fake British, supposed managers that they were colonializing the whole world, and all entertainment was shut down, and all the biggest, funniest men all had to be sad and starve to death and work at Walmart till they died. It happened.
That's when I lost most of my health. I'm a cripple.
Then after we lost all that health, then they start testing out into our neighborhood in connection to our grandparents, foraying in, seeing how weak we are once we have cancer, once we've lost weight, once I've gotten bloated. Come in and see how weak we are and if they can kill us. Year after year, as firemen fakely, they come in as ambulances trying to attack us and then put us in them and take us and hide us as a grave. Everything has been done. Every single thing, year after year, as we keep approaching this date now, where everybody says, we're already ensconced in the motherfucking future somehow magically. Every single fucking person you ever knew in the past has to live to the future. We have to live to the future. They're resentful. Every church is resentful. Everyone wants a piece of us. There's not even a TV show that I've seen about our scenario. Where's the TV show about two guys living desperately while all cults have it out for them?
And they are cults. You're all cults.
I'm saying you're also bad because you aren't even taking advantage of our scenario the whole time to create entertainment out of it. Instead, you're acting like it's special and secret so you can keep it going. So what? Now I'm large again. I'm over your Walmart cancer. I'm now going to re-meet all the people I met at Walmart. We're going to make movies. We're going to continue into the future. And all of the people who attacked us, which I just have to say, there is no time space. They just came from 2025 as if the far-reaching concept that I would grow to that point, become more even, arrow straight through to the future, unlike everyone else. I've seen them all failing. Everyone fails. What? Vin Diesel? He's relying on me. His movie came out as Corona started, Bloodshot. It's all about Corona. He didn't make that in 2019 for a 2020 release. From his point of view, when he was making it, it was like 2023, and he's finished up filming in January 2024. Yet then we go to the theater, we watch it in 2020 March, and it's out. How do you explain that? Everyone, even the most muscular, athletic, healthy eating individuals with clean minds, are still wrapped in time and space. So we get no advantages from it, except murderers showing up year after year.
who are upset because the last thing they remember is an old movie like Star Wars or something, and they've taken so much meth and heroin that they couldn't remember anything new. So I'm being attacked on the off chance that I would make any comments that somebody would take and try to make something with.
Yeah.
So after all of this terrible situations, now because I'm so bored, I have so much PTSD, I'm in so much pain, now I make things just for the fuck of it, in the hopes that the world will become a better place, while it's not. Everybody's terrible to their children. They act like their children never get to inherit the world, never get to inherit jobs. I see people in what they wish was the film industry, now 40 plus coming in if they're going to be making anything, instead of even in their 30s. Like, they keep saying that the end of the 70s is the end of all humanity, and that only those people as they get older get to sit in a house and benefit from everybody else's labor in life.
And those people in their 70s, all they watch is cop shows. And you know what the cop shows, how are they still coming out? What's their motivation? They're actually terrorists worldwide califating into these TV shows. They just keep making them because what? I had to go into a courtroom. I had to bring this up. It's relevant. I had to sit there. The fat judge, who was already dead with mold rotting off of his face, called Judge Petty in connection to the pets of super pets. Even though I hadn't even come up with those ideas yet, he's glaring at me, motoring at me, because super pets is going to happen. Meanwhile, I feel this massive weight with secret cameras and audio from the entire universe watching as they say, you know, this is like the trials for one of those famous people. These directors, they think they can get away with anything. They think they can just get uppity and just then still go on with their lives because they have value. Literally, the woman that was there was connected to Roe versus Wade. The jury, she stood up herself right before I was going to point it out. She stood up and said, oh, no, I'm caught. I was involved in the Roe versus Wade decision. I'm leaving the courtroom. And everybody went, nope, not listening, nope. And she got up and left. What I'm saying is, the TV show from every criminal is, how many secret cameras and audio can we get on Eminent Grant while they're harassed and everybody gets murdered around them? Infinitely going on and on. How much real drama, real cop drama can we get out of their suffering? Not one fucking person has apologized, and all we get is more cop TV shows for Kirsten upstairs to soak in, reveling, then go out literally to every old person in the valley and say how little we're worth. To the old people who watch the cop shows. Then they all talk and they strategize, then they talk to the younger people who, you know, still listen to them because they're in their 40s and 50s and they're old too. And then they make up motions, they make up drama, they make up actions against anyone younger than them. They do these things. That's why you have no fucking TV. That's why Star Wars didn't come out on TV. Because everything is just a big emotional reaction. Where's our security to kill those younger people? And not one fucking person has said one fucking thing. They support the old people. They would rather... There's not one fucking discussion of old people versus young people. Every time it's discussed, old people saying, look at these children. They should already be in the salt mines. And they get away with it every time. Every time.
Every fucking YouTube short is just an excuse to make up more lies about how somebody's being harassed, dressing up as a murdering official, and saying that somebody else is or isn't allowed to do something while they jack their tiny little micro cock. And everybody just acts like as if it's never going to come back on you. I'm telling you, people love dressing up now, and they'll murder anyone. They'll murder you, they'll murder your wife, they'll murder your children, they'll murder your pets. And they're upset because, you know, I said that pets had value, and they don't like that. There's infinite short videos on YouTube, you know, amongst the videos of pets having value and people liking them in cute videos, of them just saying...
Eating them, murdering them, torturing them, saying they're endangered and they'll get to eliminating all of them. Every animal has been covered across the board. Too many cute videos of an animal. The reaction is an entire cult church making up as many negative videos from the real internet of the past, which had everything on it, and just saying negative video, adding text to every video, making it negative against animals.
There is no humanity left to anyone. There is nothing left to any of your souls. I'm not being religious, I'm being spiritual here. You actually think as if, all the wee-woo bullshit, wee-woo, that somehow that's fantasy, that's everything you need, that's science fiction.
Yeah.
You don't need entertainment. You just need to murder more in an endless spree while somehow not being dead already of eating raw meat. That's everyone. That's you listening.
I can't have interactions. To be clear, when I was a teenager, everybody would put their hands in their pockets and be like, boy, I'm uncomfortable. This is a celebrity in the making. Hey, Ammon, you heard of Aragon? Hey, Ammon, you heard of Star Wars? That was my life. Every single person just saying, hey, Ammon, you heard of Expendables 4? I couldn't talk to anyone. Everywhere I go, they're jealous. Oh, there goes Ammon, there he is eating more healthy food and lifting more weight. Because the criminal down the road's trying to kill me. And all you can focus on is your jealousy. You have to understand, from my point of view, you've heard me ranting in your heads for years now, magically, because we're on the topic of magic, which has just become TV. Like, I go down to buy weed or something, buy alcohol, buy anything. Any substance that I need to survive in however much amounts. And they just act like, oh man, remember when Ammon was buying the stuff anyways and there was active gangs of murderers following him around? Boy, how did he survive that? I wonder if another episode of that TV show will come out where Ammon survives and they all got cameras and go to every stop sign he's going to be at and try to rev their engines at him. I wonder if Ammon will keep succeeding. And I wonder if it'll eliminate all TV superhero shows as he is too cool and they don't know how to compare. Boy, that makes me jealous. I wonder if someone's better than Ammon still. That's my life. And then they say I'm competitive. As all I try to do is eat more, lift more, stretch more, so the next time someone tries to get me in a headlock, I can flip around and break him over and over and over. Meanwhile, I've got my fucking grandparents upstairs constantly trying to poison me. Literally. I'm sorry. It's fucking poison when the sodium is so far gone that you can't enter a room because you throw up. It's so stinky. It's over. Mr. Marvin, the suspenders wearing farmer upstairs is just like, sodium's good for you. What do you mean? Oh, they aren't eating sodium? It's a fundamental way of life. And he just says this, even though his entire life he said sodium is bad. Then suddenly when I'm not eating it again, just like last decade, what? I don't eat that much, but I'm going to eat more because you're not. That's why we made Weird and got it released outside of theaters so that every single human could see what he is. We're driven by passion of survival, and none of you are. This gets into Chris Hemsworth's show, which is next up on the agenda, Limitless, where all of it is just infective behavior all around him in Australia. Old people fucking farting and, stealing everyone's resources left and right. And he has to come to grips with it in the TV show. He has to become aware that he was on the edge of death, like every other major movie star, because of old people. Not because of anything else, because of old people's behaviors. Driving around in their RVs, blocking entertainment, getting in the way, or sitting around in old folks' homes on their last legs, not able to get into their RVs, because they're valued in their RVs. Have you ever noticed that?
They're always sitting in the parking lots of every Walmart, pretty much every place back in the day, Albertsons, anything, because they're allowed to be there because they're old. But if I had a trailer RV there, then suddenly the rules of every business would change.
Why would I stop pushing? Why would I stop pushing when my whole life has been, oh no, I'm never gonna be anything but youthful. So I have to eliminate the system and reverse it. All old people are 5th class citizens. All children are 50th class, like 50th positive class citizens. Like, children get everything. Every time you think of a child, you should think about an old person and say, I hate old people, but good thing there's a child to think about. Instead of the opposite, which all of you have done your whole lives. You act like it's all wrapped up in different fucking, procedures like, oh man, teenagers might be skateboarding. Oh man, babies might throw up in here. Oh man, there's always another fucking reason.
There's always another fucking shitty excuse to hate fucking children and love something else.
But
always
then when
to love something else.
Then when some crippled loser in a wheelchair or old person shows up, then everybody's all like, "Ooh," like as though a deity's entering the room. You're disgusting. Like,
and everyone, you either don't pay enough time to your children, or you do the exact opposite and constantly torture them and act like as if you're a fucking imprisoner.
Yeah.
Same with some of these people still and their fucking pets. Fuck you. Fuck you to hell, you goddamn motherfuckers. I have nothing left.
The TV shows that I would want to come out so I could talk about them would be random expressions of people and how they could live their adult lives in ridiculous ways so that children feel like there's options in life going into the future.
But the problem is that, and I keep saying this, you all went to college. You know this better than me. It's not a secret. You can see it everywhere. Oh man, as soon as people are born, 70s is ideal. And as soon as you get born past that point, even people born in the early to mid 80s, they're already relegated to hoarding every single resource and being the mundane worker ant slaves that work at every restaurant and everything, and they're supposed to like it, and they frequently do, all while you say, oh man, all the way from 1990 onwards, as children get born, children have continuously gotten born, they don't deserve anything. You just keep trying to say that the next generations aren't happening as you get older and older and older, as I see people from their 70s and shitty Netflix shows rather than children in shitty Netflix shows, and it just keeps going and going.
And no matter what, from our point of view, you have to understand.
And you're starting to pretend like you're children now, like as if you get to make children's videos.
You know how people say they're inverted or whatever, like Randy Santel, he's doing what do they call that? He at his college, he's an intern. That's literally a turning in of the structure of the brain spinning to get either straighter or less straight together. That's why he's everywhere on supposed my planet Earth, eating everywhere, even Idaho, even though that wasn't in Idaho. He never came to Idaho. It doesn't exist for him. But he's all over doing his intern bullshit. And, interning is just the concept that you're spinning inwards. The internet? Interned net. Interning is like what you do with a dead body, What you have to understand is that we exist. I'm sorry, I'm just going to get all into it right now. I don't know why. Metaphysically, from underneath, you are giant blobs of methane gas held together vaguely by different protein chains that are big supposed humans. I'm everywhere, equally, atomically. So I'm coming up from underneath, and everything you shove into your brain, all the thoughts of negativity or positivity that you vanish, they come here. So all I've gotten is negativity for 33 years. So what my response is, every single adult I see, I have a twitch, like as though I'm PTSD riddled. Every single person who looks full grown to me and has stopped growing, I twitch when I see them. It doesn't matter. There could be 1,000 people walking past me. And I'm twitching like this. And you know what's happening? Each of those people, They're walking, never feeling, on every drug, ignoring everything with the last of their genetic leaking data. And they just don't care. I mean, I can disturb them psychologically in ways with my energy into their brains because of everybody attacking me the other way as cults. And
Oppressing our
sexuality. And they, as a horde, have a pride mechanism that if any god, deity, magic technology attacks one of them, and they start to enervate as a member of the crowd or in a car or whatever, then immediately the response is more activity everywhere, everyone more excited, burning hotter, as that person inexplicably just feels nothing, is confident, maybe twitches a little, then it's just better than ever, and just goes, you silly you, I'm smart, I'm so smart, I know who you are, and I'm casually saying that I've got an important job and you don't. And that's every single person, every 80-year-old, every 8-year-old.
Fucking work.
No one works here. Not one person works.
They're lazy pieces of shit.
The real workers were the actual members of society that were once here. I went into town recently. We hit a new year. There's a few people around on my way to get weed. They look like locals. They have local hairstyles. They look like their genetics are similar to people I've seen in the past. They're all over the place, everywhere I go driving down there. And why were they all standing around in the countryside on random back roads, jogging, doing whatever? It's because for the last 5 years before that, every time I go, there's criminals. Criminals everywhere, coming out of every garage, over the hill, out of trees, out of nowhere. Everywhere. Each one wondering why they're there, feeling a general purpose as they don't know where they are in time and space, and then seeing me as the only other thing, and then reacting. Reacting. Imagine that. Even if not one of them ever physically attacked me, imagine your entire life, year after year, only seeing murderers reacting at you. Everywhere you go. I got it on camera, all our movies, I haven't even bothered editing them. Because how? How can I release a movie when everybody's reacting about my movies? They're already reacting about my movies with their own movies coming out, and I haven't even made the goddamn things yet. Explain that.
And the most major problem of all, like I'll keep fucking repeating is, if you didn't want to fucking have children, then you shouldn't have fucking come in somebody, you fucking rat.
It's not easy to make children. That's another lie. The TV, you know. One sperm? You're fucking cretins. Yeah, right. Yeah, you got incredible Hulk sperm.
So potent.
Oh, yeah, let me tell you. It's absurd. It's absurd. The truth is, like we saw in our lives back in the day when anybody existed here day to day, they want to make a baby. They gotta eat something, they gotta do some exercise, they gotta fix some scoliosis of their spine so they can increase their stem cell flow, get enough ejaculate going so it can get to the right places in large enough amounts so that a baby grows. It's not like humans have become much weaker than seeds that you just plant in your garden
and
and a tree grows.
I'll tell you why, and this is the most important thing, and I say fuck you to all the actors for this one reason. You never once looked at even herbal concentrates, which are very steroidal. You never once looked at hops outside of piss beer with tons of fucking sulfur in it that was never filtered in the worst possible vats humanly possible. So you're the most sick and worthless. Nobody ever looks into anything. Ammon brought up suma. Ammon's brought up all these different herbs that try to make you bigger without these fucking steroids. I mean, hell, you could even take the concentrated steroids from animal sweat because they just produce steroids like mad. Choose your animal and use that. But nobody wants any of that. They want this soulless, sterile, not real substrate made out of so many different elements arranged into the form of a chemical male or estrogen or, you know, all those different things to start working out as a man or woman, that they're just sterilizing themselves to death and proud of it. And here's the final part. I just would like to say this for a second. The final problem here is that everyone's on steroids as if they're all going to be cool dudes. And I've seen it. They get up to whatever size. It's full of shit. Most teenagers are skinny as hell and covered in acne. And they're just jacked boys. And then I don't see them again because they're dead after 2-3 years, even 1 sometimes, 6 months, a single summer. While they got nothing, basically. Barely more muscle.
So what my strategy with life was, because I know everybody's a cultist and gives me nothing, was to achieve by age 17 the strategy where across the board, at some point when I was age 17, I worked up to this goal. I would be better than all other categories of people in that way, all in 1 year. So I each month I would switch. So I got a degree in agricultural law in 1 month. I became the fastest man alive in another month. I did all of these different things, and what I noticed is I knew as I strategized through this period that I watched as cults rose up. For example, I tried to look really lean and sexy. Maybe I could be a model one of the months, I work out a certain way and run an extra amount. Then I look sexy with infinite perfect cleavage, down to my fucking dick all the way down. Nope, suddenly there's no jobs. You can't get hired for modeling. That's all dried up. Then I go through all these different categories. Ninja stuntman. I could kick flip up into the air and spin any direction. I could kick anywhere for 10 hours straight. I could do anything. I could think anything. And I worked through all of my abilities each month switching as I watched all the economy of my fake world shut down. For example, the degree I got was officially through the old government accreditation from the 80s and
so
90s.
It's an advanced course that you do.
It was an
quickly.
Advanced course you can do quickly as the government says you're allowed
Especially
to.
because it's a specific category.
Then they said, oh, you got the degree in the mail? Guess what, Sonny? All degrees are now private. All universities are public-private partnerships, and the universities, as the random professors or whoever, decide who has a degree and if that degree works towards getting a job in any industry. Literally.
Guilds. Again.
Guilds. Instantly. So my point here is at 17...
And guilds are cults.
I also decided, how huge could I get? So I shifted all of my muscle weight, from my legs up to my shoulders and chest, and really got shredded and huge, 200 pounds. What was the result? No, there's not even the concept of junior bodybuilding championships. And the ones that supposedly existed from several years before, when I looked it up on the internet, which had no videos yet, you had to look on individual websites through search engines. It took forever. No, they all look like they took HGH at 8 and are already in their 50s at age 17.
Disgusting.
So they're all bones, which is unacceptable. They would lose. But they were cold bodybuilding groups. So, no, their bones are bigger than mine at 17.
As they
Are
die a
you
year
fucking
later.
kidding me? Their bones are bigger?
As they die a year later.
Yeah, as I was fucking huge. Then again at age 22, I took it farther. I said, okay, this is the age I had, worked out that I could become even bigger again without any side effects. So I do it, I work into it, I do my different strategies. I get up to 225, I'm fucking huge, I'm the fucking Hulk at this point. I do my different workout montage pictures and videos. Nobody gives one single flying fuck. They don't give one fuck. There's all bodybuilding championships for adults instantly become, no, you have to know someone.
Invitation only.
Invitation only. So what? American Ninja Warrior launches. I would have been there day one. I would have been literally ninjaing on the sides of everything. I had this little effect I had back in the day where I could actually suction plug myself to a flat glass surface with my abs and hang there and then work my way across slowly, inchworm, My point is, I'm a god, you're all a bunch of fucking disgusting cultists limping along as like fucking parasite-riddled husks, and then randomly your genetics spring up with the help of random hormonal drugs so you can get really bloated or really skinny or really hollow in the brain. So for 1 second you can say, oh, I'm computing, look at me, 144 times 12, I know what it is. Do you think any one fucking person cares about that? But they had to have their kids show up on my farm by the hundreds and distract me while I'm talking to them about the products they could be getting, and all they're thinking about is how their kids are doing their math faster for getting change back to them than I currently am. And there's pressure on all of them. Whole cults coming out and lining up and saying, ha, Ammon, we're in your bedroom where we get our strawberries. We own you. Ha, you don't compute more than us. Flesh wins. That's what they fucking did to me. Why do you think I've been fucking beaten on so much, and why I'm gonna beat on all the celebrities? And we started with what's his name? I don't know names. Black Arrow, whatever he's called in Marvel. I'm taking credit for hurting him. Every single person, Zac Efron, I'm taking credit for hurting him on that ski slope. I did that. Because they're worthless and they need to learn, if they're the supposed big strong men in TV and movies, what I've been through and how badly I can psychologically and voodoo hurt their physical forms. To get them in a state where they accept that I'll keep hurting them and I'll be a worse bully on them than all of society can be on me. The celebrities themselves are gonna break. They already have. I'm trying to get in any angle I can, and so when it comes to TV, total blocking. I guess I'm done ranting. I should really stop. Because, this brings us to Wipeout.
I don't believe that fat whore is there.
No, she is not there. John Cena has set up the show. We're watching it before it's come out officially. She's adding herself in. It's like 360p crusty. She's a big blob. She's making jokes that are prearranged to make her look foolish. What cult church is she a part of?
Yeah, well, she replaces somebody who's obviously in shape because she's so unoriginal, just like people taking everything we say back to back, even though I switch subjects to where it turns into 5 different movies worth of different ideas.
I'm not fucking
don't
stupid.
fit together.
Only churches have the computers, the fucking young, fresh-faced, vigorous people to fucking do all these replacements in every fucking TV show and movie. So that's why all churches were banned, and we had an entire year and a half of no church allowed, no one gathering in groups over 5. And I'm going to continue to get more aggressive and enforce this more in the future. We're never having groups anymore till I get fucking paid and live in Hawaii. You're never getting what you want till I get what I want, which is TV shows actually coming out that fucking stroke my dick and say how cool I am. So Wipeout, he generally, as he went along with his TV show, John Cena, was hyper positive. He even had criminals come in that me and Grant have personally smashed in the face. Then miraculously they're back out of hell, all whoop back, all peppy, all sprinting down the course. You can literally see them cheating in the episodes. They're floating like methane clouds. They're epic, they think. They're fighting the John Cena. It's the worst content of all time. Just to get enough episodes of Wipeout out. Because there's no one even left alive who's willing to be on the show. That's how fucking thin humanity has gotten. It's ridiculous. So, holy hell, John Cena, he just delivers and he delivers some more because Wipeout is incredible.
And he did the most important thing, which is most people try to say for no reason, like, they disassociate in a certain way with things that they would actually do with my brother here, and actually go even more insane with me and act like anything I'm doing should be taken seriously instead of ever it being a joke, instead of anything ever being lighthearted, instead of anything ever just being nothing, as if, I'm being serious when I'm not. So he felt the need, because you fucks are so autistic and retarded, because I made hand puppets on YouTube, and he felt the need to point out that I'm just doing a bit because I'm covering different topics, whereas apparently, because he said so, you fucking retards actually think that somehow it would be therapy for me? You do know that when people do hand puppets like that, as if you're projecting even harder than ever before all of your emotions that I don't have, that somehow I'm not trying to address your relationship issues with hand puppets as your demon baby women child and man children who collect Funko Pops all day and fucking are more obsessed with Marvel films than children and expect them to be deadly serious while children need to watch this shit.
Yeah, there seems to be this weight on everything, like, everybody eats the same sugar and drugs, they get to the future, their brain's slow, everything slants at the same light angles through their brains. Hey, that's a pretty good Wi-Fi signal. So a whole crowd is all observing something, and the same chemicals are rocketing the signals through their brains the same similar way. What do you think fucking happens? Anyone in the crowd who says, hey, wait a minute, I could be getting a superior sensation by using this other part of my genetic capacity of my brain. Then the whole crowd goes, wah, and looks at them and says, but you aren't supporting the system. If you have independent thoughts, you'll draw the electricity from the drugs of our brains through a Wi-Fi signal into your brain and then use it with new imagination swirls of color. Then you'll be stealing from the crowd. That's what humanity has become. How nothing happens. As I take each brain back, most people die. A few survive the infections vomiting out of them. That's corona. I'm sorry. You put me in jail, in prison, as though prison and jail are the same. They're not! They're not! They're not! They're not! One's a concentration camp. One's an organized governmental place. There's no similarities. None! So, after I had to deal with all of the most infected individuals that you use as your crutches to avoid responsibility as adults, all your twitches to avoid all your responsibilities, I had to talk to all those people. And what do you think is my strategy after going through seeing the worst of all humanity through all history coming at me? What do you think is my strategy of survival at this point? That's it. Just think about that. John Cena thinks about it. And Chris Hemsworth thinks about it in Limitless. That's all he's thinking about. Is, holy fuck, I broke his heart. I said, he's being too big of a pedophile. He can't make TV shows. He can't make more Thor. Everything's just twisted into all of his stem cells, burrowing into his chest and not even breaking it correctly. It's twisted wrong. So he's just dying because of his pedophilia, which I don't give a fuck about. It's just another sexuality behavior. But it takes over everyone's lives. So with him, he had enough material left that I just said, okay, what if, like when I was 17, it just jogged down and over, and the flow just went to the other side, and his heart just leaked over to that side. So then, you know the scene where he's cranking open the cauldron to make a new hammer? That motion is the exact motion I made concentrating, yanking my bones, imagining when I was 17, back into his shape as I saw him being a pedophile with his children in public, like it's a safety protocol. It was killing him. He would have been dead in another 6 months. So I broke his chest, so he has an S-shaped flow now. And he's infinitely proud and brags because I broke him. Now he's infinitely stronger, and every other actor acts like They're just vague robots, but somewhere Chris Hemsworth got something in life. They're jealous. They need to feel towards the light of whatever happened. That's how dead they are. How little thoughts they're allowed to have separate from the criminals in their heads doing all the activity of thought. That's how little is left. And it proves it at the end of Limitless when there's just murdering, limbless old people trying to kill each other in a last convent. It's the worst show. It's worse than a movie that's supposed to be like historically inaccurate about mass murderers. It's the worst content of all time. Which is probably why I'm ranting so much, because the TV that we were allowed to see was shit. Most of it. Even John Cena's stuff was stressful to us. There were so many criminals involved. Getting the shit beaten out of them at least.
And this is the number one thing I said. I had to, and he is just reacting to what I said. Well, I just said it to thin air. Like I repeat. He has to get the piss beer out of him, because I'm not joking. I don't care what your excuses are, because there's even more layers of sugar that you have in you that will just tell you whatever you want to hear as you cut your own brain up. That you'll just say, nah, people with disgusting beers that eat nothing but raw meat, they would never piss in the beer vats. They would never do such a thing, but they do. 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 To the point where I don't even know if you can trust German beers at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could in the past. I don't know any of the situation with any of that, but they have a better history in that particular country of brewing better things. But regardless, it's
India
always the
Pale
same.
Ale isn't different. They just take a little bit of beer, whatever it is, Coors Light. Then they just drink nothing but it. Then as they're dying, as their kidneys are failing, they just piss into casks. That's India Pale Ale. It's every white man wishing he was Indian. And you're drinking his piss.
I just keep repeating. Actually, keep the sulfur out as well. I always point this out. Keep the sulfur out of the brewing. If sulfur is detected, then sulfur has to be removed. It doesn't matter if it's from urine or not. There's always been an inherent sulfur problem. So then they just say, oh, that's just acceptable amounts of sulfur. Sulfur isn't acceptable in alcohol. It goes into vital spots in your body, especially when it's steroids, like hops, and it damages you intrinsically.
Yeah.
That's why I always just advise people just drink whiskey, just hard alcohol if they're going to be an alcoholic. Fuck it.
Why I'm so upset is while people had any credibility of thoughts, say a decade or two ago, I was already coming up with endless content that society could do. But you know what every single actor would say? We've already discussed this, me and Grant, endlessly. We tracked down an actual director, actor, whatever, publisher man. And we just have everything they want, all at once. They just say, I'm suspicious. How dare you not go through the channels of who you know? Anyone.
As that shuts down
Anyone.
the system. That shuts down
Every
that system.
human.
That shuts down systems.
So
Any system.
there is no TV because you wouldn't take one fucking TV idea until Corona hit and literally you're being roasted as all the bacterial harboring scumbags you are. Have you not seen the footage of endless airplanes on radar all streaming across the world by thousands of planes all improbably flying as though entire civilizations are picking up and flying through the air and landing somewhere else? That's all the bacteria in you pretending they're human shaped. I mean, you see them, they come out of people all the time. Giant bloated men and women with twisted forms who just say, I'm on welfare, Jesus is the bread. And they're not real people. They don't have fucking legitimate birth certificates. I've seen where they come from out of everyone's fucking sewage. Give me a fucking break. They're flying around in everyone's sewage bowels, flying over here to this organ, flying over here to that organ. It's all simulated, but boy, this universe is a simulation. And you all know I'm telling the truth. I waited to talk like this until you're all sheepish, and then, oh, maybe Salmon will say something crazy, then sheepish again as the pain, the terrible pain from what you've done to me sets in.
I can hardly stand even now.
You see how much I'm moving? Imagine how I'm standing here with my shirt off boldly. Imagine how many murderers are thinking about murdering me, because I have strength, but I'm also shifting uncomfortably as I talk aggressively. They really gotta, figure out how to end my life right now. Do you feel it, everyone? Do you feel that inside of you? You feel that negativity and blackness swirling? That's why I have nothing in life except what I've earned and beaten out of people, which is very little.
I have invented infinite technology simply to try to hopefully distract your murdering bullshit thoughts into manufacturing and actually designing the shit that I'm talking about, which is 100% legitimate. I'm not joking when I say you have an infection in you that tells you you're smart every 5 seconds. Every 5 fucking seconds. Because...
Yes.
Because you're ignorant and refuse to accept the concepts as valid, even if I may be in error in some ways, like any scientist, any theoretical person on any subject is.
Yeah.
I say, okay, quartz lights, quartz screens. I say this, I say that. I say NVIDIA is somehow piss. It just is. I see the piss green. It's always an association with green, yellow, green piss. It's somehow a regulation system of people's bodies' piss systems. I don't care. I'm just saying, clean up your piss. Clean up your act. Clean up your existence. Stop pretending like as if you can just walk around and touch every surface.
Yeah, so there's this other issue where everybody's now intricately connected to their pets because I say they should be. So now, for example, just because he's so stably in everyone's bodies while also being a little bit of a cunt, you got Dwayne Johnson. So I'm in here, a few weeks ago, twerking on live stream. Whenever I do anything sexual on live stream, then it just stays in the red. Everybody complains there's no bandwidth. It's just vanishing into thin air. Where's that going? But anyways, I'm watching a fucking compilation of Dwayne Johnson, and he's really fucking exercising. He's getting back to work. He's like a dog now. He's playing a role in my Super Pets that's dog related. And it's like all of his foilables are contained within Super Pets. I've seen this with everyone, as though I'm just going to bring in everyone to Super Pets and make it as big as possible, because their only positivity is a false reality when they're performing. They need it to be a cartoon. They need it to be false, because the real him, the second he thinks about me, he just thinks, oh, there's a soulless program. I'm competing with Ammon. Society is. I've got to get big. I've got to steal Ammon's roles. How am I going to, take away the next movie role that Ammon's going to be in? And it does start to horrify him finally, and other actors, as soullessly coming into all of the sugar and every drug and steroid they took is this concept leaking in from everybody else that, they need a scapegoat.
No. We already have a tale of two cities. We already have the tale of a whipping boy. You don't get to actualize that type of behavior. Your children hate you. You don't get to murder them. You will be held, thank fuck for nature, until you die, dying of cancer for your evils, so that hopefully some tiny piece of something can continue with 150 people left on this fucking planet, and then they can, 20 of the people out of those 150 that have to make, let automated tractors run fields and bring food from them to some place where they can eat it, can entertain the rest of them. And
Yeah.
you know what that's going to be? That's why I keep saying television. That would be television. There's not enough time if there's the less and less people there is, the more you all die for anything other than television. People can't handle the wait times. People can't handle anything.
Every time I approach someone, even supposed locals back in the day, they enter the state where they become aware that their emotions are wrong, everything's wrong. They feel like they're in a dream state, and they feel all the weight of peer pressure, of all the ways that no one's allowed to do anything unique. So I walk up to them and I'm like, Here's all my uniqueness. Here's something. Oh, there's your brain spinning like that. Oh, I see your face twisting that way. I'll insert something clever that feeds your hormonal needs, your instinctual genetic needs. I get in, I start to make progress. Then as they heal, I heal every single person I see and talk to. Then this thing happens where then they're so infected that they just go along, they get positivity, they talk, they laugh a little bit. Then they start to get distracted again as things really start flowing through their brains, the actual cerebral fluid. Then they realize there's this horrible infection eating their whole brain. And then suddenly they're just distracted. They're just wandering off a random direction like a zombie corpse starting to realize they can heal. And I'm just left sitting there. I'm just like, hey, buddy, friendship, sex, money, food, life? No. They're zombies. There is no hope. I went to get weed just yesterday. Local people back again. They're just zombies. If I stop to talk to them, they're limited to, hey, yeah, oh, you have a strawberry farm? Oh, I didn't know that. Maybe one of my relatives will come get strawberries. Then they just stare. Not, I think I'll make something with the strawberries. I think I have thoughts. They just stare. And they even admit, wow, I'm in a dream state. Well, what am I in then?
Reality.
Reality. Stop dreaming, everyone.
Stop pretending that fantasy shows are reality. Reality is cold and hard and painful. And when it's not cold and hard and painful, it's hot and melting and running and painful.
I'm promising everyone, if they don't fucking drive past their square or spoked or rounded grid to the edge of it and spend time off of that system with nature, then they're all gonna die. I guarantee you're going to fucking die. The bacteria will eat you alive.
There's no hope unless people separate from the constant touching of every object around each other as if it's their job.
My whole life, I was exposed to the city like it's a festering, like, apocalypse movie, like reality. It looks like it. Like, look around you. There's no activity. Everything's rusted. The roads are crooked. They use illogical lines. Everything's wrong. There's no positivity. The only positivity is your interactions with other people you know. I don't know anyone. Every time I go out to meet someone, oh, there's a super nice person in the community. I even tried talking about someone in my community like I was going to date them. So everyone was aware like I was already sort of going to date them and dating them. But it didn't help because the person was nice. But then people talk about me and them and her. Then I get around to actually interacting with her. Then it's just all like, oh, it's awkward. Oh, it's so sexual. Anna's the most sexual person in all the world. Oh, there's all this weight of peer pressure. Oh, man, first date kiss. Oh, what do I do? So many layers on her, so much weight. I never went on a date with her. It was just all awkwardness and zero expressed interest in anything I said that would lead into a conversation. So over my life, I've gotten more desperate and just lunge at people with conversation. And then they just go, oh, Em, silly you. Don't you know you gotta be older than Jesus when he died to get anything in life? You silly head.
As if
and I've heard it!
As if that means anything. As if all of your stupid fucking, oh, today's a good day, today's a bad day. That's superstition. No day's a good day.
What's not superstition is how many people act like I have to perform more miracles than Jesus, then survive all of the troops of church officials coming to kill me like they did Jesus. But see, whereas he was a pussy and wanted to die, I just keep asking God for more energy and keep killing. So I have to get past Jesus because the weight of all those cults on them, on every celebrity, makes them not say anything positive to me. Because who knows? What if suddenly I got stabbed successfully and then randomly one of the celebrities was picked by the cults to be Jesus and they all go stabbing? They couldn't have, that would be pressure on them. It's all about themselves, as they don't give one fuck about their own survival.
Because what happens when you let somebody be targeted for being really, really healthy and beautiful? What do you think happens? It's just a list. And the ugliest, meanest, most disgusting meat-eating, raw meat-eating, piss-drinking people just say, man, now there's another person on the list, and another person, and another person, and another person.
Of course it already happened, because they spent 2 fucking years chasing us around everywhere I went out in town, following me home, hanging out at neighbors' houses, intimidating everyone as fake officials of whatever sort. They didn't give a fuck. So then...
They don't care if they're Idaho Power.
They wait, they go years, they say, oh fuck, these people grew up and no one helped them even though they're so successful at killing everyone themselves. No one's helped them. Hey, nobody, government's kind of slouched, everything's slouching. Hey, there's no consequences. No free day. It's still free day. Right today, it's free day for anyone who shows up to hurt me. What are the consequences? Name one. Name one. Okay, I'm listening to everyone alive who's watching. Nothing. You haven't given one consequence to anyone who's hurt me. No one can think of how they've helped me. And I waited till now to say all of this into these special periods here that we're in, so that your brains are all opened up. And now, you just blow me off. I'm so superior. Now I'm digging in. I'm digging in the screwdrivers. And I'm going to keep going deeper. I'm going to go deeper and deeper because there's no TV left in your brain. There's just rotted, spun passages of worms and weevils. There's worms and weevils sure get spoiled easy. They sure want no entertainment. So I'm calling it out. I have worms in me? Why do you think that is? What do you think why that happened? You have worms in you. And your worms hate you.
In closing, I'd just like to point out that the amount of death that has happened, the amount of death that you're ignoring as any which one of you could die at any fucking second to a crazed murderer who just says his eyes are crossed, he's, been on heroin for 8 years, he just really wants to murder somebody, because he loves murder. You could just be murdered. Just cause, because somebody wants it, always remember that. They could just fucking murder you because they're starting to lose track of the reason why anything exists. Because that whole fantasy feeling? Imagine a murderer, a really murderer. You're like, it's funny, people get murdered, I'm superior, I live in like a fucking mansion or something stupid. A murderer, all a murderer thinks is, well, somebody who was important got attacked, so what if I attacked a scientist in a lab? What if I attacked the person at the observatory up on the hill? What if I attacked every single person everywhere until something happens? And then what? You say it's a fantasy because it'll never happen? People would never dress up like any official and just murder you because they feel like it?
Yeah. All we've talked about is the reality of what TV has become in the last 5 to 10 years. Fewer and fewer shows mentioning humor or sex or real lifestyle choices of any kind, and more about, hey, what about a joke about someone in jail who's getting shanked? What about a joke about a prostitute whose baby can't be fed? Jokes, guys! Jokes!
It's not fucking funny.
That's what they turn TV into!
And they're trying to do it
And
all over the
upstairs,
internet.
right upstairs, is 2 fucking skinny and fat butts reveling in it. Reveling in my suffering.
And they try to push it everywhere. Anywhere. You're trying to talk about bodybuilding? Oh, but murder? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Imagine walking into your kitchen every day to make food. It's 50 to 55 degrees in the kitchen. And the gas, you have to understand, half of it is 65 degrees. The other half is 35 to 45 degrees, having leaked into the house. And it never mixes. It just sits next to each other, bouncing off of each other, never equalizing temperature or speed of the gas. So as you move through this gas, it's like half of it's tearing across your skin at twice the speed as the rest, causing a sensation of epic burning cold. Epically, terribly painful. Then you have the radio on at least 50 decibels with Mr. Fast Talker on AM, for example. He just talks about everything. He'll never stop talking. He always has a script in front of him. That's on, always. Or some equivalent. Even worse, a local guy who, he gives out turkeys, but he won't talk to me about it because I'm a local. Whatever's on the radio is just, I walk into the room, the signals of the air change, the signals of the radio change, suddenly they need to bring up how they're 15th Idaho generations and they're the ones who decide what the weather's going to be. They're the ones who decide what supposed laws are going to be passed down in Boise. All these made up topics with not one connection to anyone doing anything, but they talk and they talk and they talk, and somewhere hidden in there is, why don't you just kill locals? Amidst all of it, along with all the snide superiority of everyone being a system who's come here. What a great place to live. Non-stop, year after year, getting worse, more sinister, more directed, more mindless. Non-stop, always. Always more cold, always more violence. Always. Always. Fuck you for ever acting like there was a Cold War. It got down to ultra zero here. Do you realize how cold that is? It's so cold, it's a conceptual temperature that scientists have never witnessed, other than us now, and survived. The air hangs. Each particle is visible to the fucking human eye because it's not moving. It's become a crystalline surface you're pushing through, like gelatinous. It happened. It happened. I had to go out in that.
Me
I had
too.
to
That's why I'm so crippled.
smoke weed until I had enough different gases in my body that I could go out into the ultra zero and throw logs into a fire outside for no fucking reason. Saw them with the chainsaws. They're big logs that are half frozen in snow and rain already that are wet. Saw them into lengths. Break them with an axe into chunks that are small enough so the stove will actually burn them instead of the whole chunk. All of this fucking work pre-set up by my grandparents, who also in 1988 forced my real mother to saw wood with a hand saw while she was pregnant with me until she, lost me. Then they took the body from her that looked like me when I was born again a year or two later, took it and secretly buried it in secret pasts where their secret baby murder fantasies can be laid to rest because they've achieved the baby murder. Then she's pregnant again, a few years older, gives birth to me, is on the run from them because they're such fucking criminal murderers of all babies. And here I am. She's nowhere to be seen. The murderers are upstairs. They go around telling every cold and old person that we don't deserve to live. But it's all mental. It's all special. They just have their terminology. They're soulless. There's not one fucking thought. It's like in 1969 they said robots, and then they were robots, and that was that. That's the end of them. You can't manipulate them. She literally, now that we're getting towards the end of me being beaten on, Kirsten just said a few days ago, my mother was so much worse than I was to you. You never would have survived her. As I'm like, you're so evil because you know how everybody else has something you can say and it'll make them think something? She just wraps it back around to, yeah, but how is that hurting you? Every thought. Hitler or somebody, he just thought about hurting everyone because we're being hurt. She thinks more often about hurting us and others than Hitler does. Hitler himself falls short. Just to tell everyone what her thoughts are.
Her thoughts are as bad as every fucking man-child that ever played dress-up and wanted to murder everyone everywhere around us.
Yeah.
When you have on the radio some parent come in, and I'll always repeat this because, why wouldn't it have happened a billion times more? But I just don't hear that either. Because, there'll be just somebody to jam the signal nearby because it feels like a job. It feels like work while not working to be an insidious murderer and jam signals. The second that somebody, for example, and replace it with something else, a pre-recording, more advertisements that they already have pre-recorded. I mean, there's a house right down the way. I'm not saying that it's doing it, but I'm just saying it has a giant radio antenna on it. The place where the Woods used to live. It's got a big radio antenna there, like it can receive and transceive.
I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I know when they start fucking with signals from houses, there's another one the other direction. As if they can pinpoint the two directions signals would come from and replace them with whatever they want as a last-ditch effort in our neighborhood, specifically at us only. And everyone in every house has the internet filtered to their phones so they can try to block and change everything we're viewing as the cult in our neighborhood around us.
Let me tell you something right now to finish up what I was saying, because I haven't heard it anymore, but that doesn't mean anything. When you have a man literally come on the radio saying that some retard man-child tried to run over his daughter on the side of the road on a four-wheeler, just crush her with his truck, and that he's coming for everybody, what type of world do you have in the small podunk state that we live in where autistic meth head retards that would ordinarily be in your townships back east, in your bigger locations, even if they're not cities, because they would never leave, suddenly here dying as if it's worth it in the desert? It's a desert. There's little bits of water streaming down from the mountain through the center of these little pious valleys, desperately clinging on, while the summers are brutal and the winters are even worse. And they just show up. They'll be baked alive in the sun, but they're just sitting there trying to concentrate on how they could murder somebody who's local here because it's free day.
And they actually use those words. They say, it's free day. You know how, Biden was going to give people $15,000, he wanted to do that? No, only if you're a criminal coming here to the Treasure Valley. Then you get a free sports car or whatever you want, $15,000, a voucher, to TCBY to get free smoothies. You think I'm kidding? You go to the fucking car dealerships where my grandfather Marvin always shows up at. He jokes with them so casually, as there's sometimes 50 men on a car dealership lot. 50 muscled, aggressive mobsters lounging around, pacing around, waiting for someone to cross them. That's what Idaho is.
In a state in the lower area, because they count the entire area of less than 500,000 people in the area we're in.
And you have to understand,
over enormous amounts of land in the West and huge.
They have advertisements like, we each have our angle, we've been here for 100 years, we're a family, different faces, different names, different voices, no one gives a fuck, but we're a community, and you can know by the sweat on our brow and our stern voices that you'll get the deal we want you to get. That's how it is. That's how they are. And they are in large enough numbers that if some local gets crossed by them back in the day, in a year, then the locals say, oh, it's not worth it. We can't kill 50 armed men. And that's how they get away with it. You think the 50 armed men don't come from some church or something? What are they doing on every fucking car lot?
And
murdering everyone?
Like I repeat, there isn't any help from the National Guard. There isn't
Never!
any help from the Air Force bases. They just take federal money and sit there and rub their balls.
Yeah, like, how about in 2017, late, near the eclipse, I think it was, maybe after, an entire fucking, 100 men, army, platoon, whatever they call it, convoy, they're all stopped in Huntington to get weed way out away from where I live.
In armored vehicles.
In armored vehicles!
Guns mounted on them.
all looking nervous, all, wondering if they can survive getting across the desert northwest as an army platoon of 100 men.
Traitors!
So then I stop, look at them, get them to look at me, get them to start reacting, and they just all look away and just ignore me and act in that moment like children. They start giggling and playing around and hopping off of stuff. Fuck you!
Traitors!
It's disgusting! I don't even know how you could do that!
Pathetic! Disgusting and pathetic.
Then, they didn't want to bother the town of Huntington in case there's enough cultists there, so they all hang out by the freeway as a platoon. Then they send some guys in who are extra nice, like as though it's the Middle East and they're in unknown territory, and they need to barter with the locals and not stir up any trouble. That's what they fucking did.
While letting the terrorists...
While I'm the
fucking
only
rampant.
local who was there on Cactus waiting to fucking crucify them for their fucking non-action. I've seen everyone come through. I've seen everything happen except anything happen. That's why there's no TV.
Because we don't even have a National Guard, let alone an Air Force that does shit. Nobody fucking defends the populace's interests.
Then we have...
They just fucking joined the military so that they can sit on their bases, smoke things that they fucking stole from the locals with federal money that they're still getting, and do nothing for anyone.
Well, like, how do you explain that we have a retinue, a crew of people who steal strawberries from our farm for minimal amounts of money given to us, even though they're federal employees with the highest paying jobs around the world? Right over in Mountain Home, there's the International Air Force Base, you understand? The top smarty pants pilots with big old juicy functioning skulls, they're all right there. They're all right there. And they all come over their wives to get strawberries from our farm. And they all just say, yeah, isn't it great that we're the superior populace? Boy, I'm sure glad you got this farm here. Fuck you. Most of them are Asian that even show up because for some reason Asians can't resist strawberries they're addicted more. So, I'm not saying Asians are any worse. I'm saying they're a little better because we even see them on our farm even though they're slavers. That's the world we live in. Absurd, despicable.
Well, they never want to have the PTSD themselves while they joined the fucking military, which is an expectation that you'll kill on command. No, they wouldn't want to kill any gangs. No, they just want to get strawberries and then flee. They just want to get weed and then they want to flee.
How is this possible?
Disgusting.
The landscape it's not a dark fantasy. There's not creatures with animal heads with big muscles rising up out of black mist. It's not that scary. That's Legend of Zelda.
They just want to sit at home and act like in their heads, I'm telling you right now, these fucking fucks, that somehow somebody else will be the military, and they're also not the military. They just joined. That's the problem with being a suburbanite. Because they wanted an easy paycheck and an easy life and an easy cult, again, to support them and not helping anybody. And they have it the easy way.
Yeah.
Prove me wrong.
I mean, I can get into how we've seen the military jets investigating the cultists flooding around in illogical numbers, but there's no statement, there's no logic. Years go by with nothing happening again. Nothing. As the military reaches a private declaration to each other that it's a spooky cultist world and they don't want to dictate reality and law and order. That's the last fucking thing they want to do.
As everything's broken down completely. And that would mean that you would need them to do something, but instead they just say, hope everybody else dies. We're a fraternal brotherhood.
I remember killing everyone in the Middle East for the U.S. Army. So if I was busy doing that, How are they not alive here now to defend me? Where the fuck are they? There's not one fucking military member, and every teenager plays dress up in town like clockwork every 3 months to prove that the cult's randomly the military because a random teenager had an insignia on it. They're insane. They don't give a fuck. They think they've won. The military does exist, and it's the worst thing to ever exist. They're so elitist, it's like what they don't even have a concept of war. It's just maneuvers and then run for it as somebody spooky shows up. That's it. That's it. How could this be all of humanity? Where is everyone? How long ago did they already die in some civil war? I guess that sums it up.
That's why there's no television.
Yeah.
Because, and to sum it up with one more fucking thing, I just want us to talk here. It used to be that in any town, any small town, there was a town hall. And you know what the town hall was for? It's not for litigation and politics. It's for one thing and one thing only, regardless of what you fucking say. Improvements to the streets within the towns and the parks and shit.
And emergencies.
And emergencies. And one more thing, because I want to bring this up, because it's a part of emergencies. It's local television.
Yeah.
How come every small town doesn't have their own local television channel? Where did that go awry? Where down the lines did every fucking town from West Coast to East Coast, from Canada to fucking Mexico, turn into, no, there's no local television, because then there'd be local voices and local concerns. We're closing that off so that everybody can murder each other and you can't even say anything about it.
But like, how does this make sense? They supposedly move around where they're broadcasting at the larger towers, their signals, as they control all television for our area and Boise area, let's say. Well, they just moved it in next to an auto parts store in the same building with like a cordon between it, because that auto parts store was providing all of the criminally bright and adjustable LED lights to go into everybody's light bulbs for their cars as they drive in out of nowhere, appear out of nowhere on an airplane, get a free car, install illegally bright light bulbs. Then everywhere I go, I can't go anywhere at night because every car is shining lights and following my windshield with their lights. It's the most absurd thing I've ever seen. As if they're scared because I'm a real god, so they need to always have their lights on me. It's a soulless program. Is that human?
Is that human?
Is that human?
Is anybody acting human based on what we've described? Is that human?
When I go to get tanning, then the entire groups of ant-like construction workers with no construction clothes on or hard hats, they all just say, I'm upset that you're glowy and you're doing tanning beds. Then they all go in there as cigarette smokers, do my tanning bed, say I'm banned from the establishment, and I watch them all die. Hundreds of men dying. I could have beaten them all to death, but boy, it sure would have worn me out. Instead, they just lined up and turned to ash in a tanning bed because I was too mighty already for them to attack. They're all dead. Their fucking, strip mall just stopped work. And then after a few weeks, Mexicans come in with hard hats on and say, I don't know how I'll finish these buildings. Literally. The Mexicans didn't want to do one goddamn thing. Whereas me, actually a fucking real citizen, the Mexicans don't fucking value this area either. I, having to survive in the area, am like, oh God, who can I kill? What group can I eliminate so that I seem unstoppable yet more? Every group I eliminate, what's your reaction? What's your reaction to me now tethering through my soul to where your world is, everyone, and just casually throwing everyone around, stabbing them with knives made out of light, out of the materials I've eaten? Now I'm a ghost in your reality. Is there any fear? Or are you just soulless, just as soulless there as you are here? And you're just, nah, mocha latte. Nah, my dog's cute. Is that what you are? Is that what's going to end? Because your dog's not going to care when I stab you in the throat in a dream. See, everybody else was in a dream state attacking me. It's no big deal. It's imaginary. Well, what happens now? How many years till I've killed every one of you for not paying me? I can kill in a dream. I can kill up to 10,000 people before I wake up. How many cities am I going to eliminate, guys? I'm just saying. I brought up Dwayne Johnson, John Cena, just because they're fake wrestlers. They're a joke. Can they do that? Say they went to punch me. I step around behind them, grab them like this, fling them over, they're dead. It's hard concrete. I'm not singling them out. I'm just saying because they're the biggest and most well-known and supposedly are violently wrestling, I can kill them instantly. Also, I could just take my fingers and I could just go throat, eyes, balls. They're also dead. Imagine what happens when somebody walks up to me and tries that. I grip them by the throat, they sink to their knees, then I put my fingers in their eye sockets and say, this is why you did this. Then I twist with my fingers and straighten their hemispheres of their lobes back to straight while twisting the tendons in their neck around, straightening out their fucking head like a pop can, straightening it out, fingers and eye sockets. Then I say, have all my electricity and magnetism, all of it. Then I sear out their skull from the inside out, blowing them to chunks. Then everyone in your existence rushes back in. I see it. I sit there waiting as you reassemble. Then I say, have you learned your lesson? Then they just don't, they're gone. And it got so bad, I had spray, of concentrates I'd eaten, oranges and stuff back in the day. I get them out of me. I purchase them for big money so I can defend myself at theaters, at the grocery store. Everyone I spray or grant sprays, they blow into black ooze mist, get flung across the room and slam into something.
Because they're that dirty.
That's how fucking dirty they are. At Albertsons, literally a guy came out of the side door because I was going along spraying the sidewalk with orange cleaner. He comes out, and he isn't a worker. He comes out as if he owns the place, looking for me. He sees me, smells what's in the air. Actually, the only man in all time and space to recognize me, still have a thought of how doomed he was, and he goes, oh, fucking shit! And he turns away from me and walks off all sad as he's on his way to hell. That's the only man who was human out of all of you. You're doomed. How's that for some fucking TV? I expect more TV next year's, guys. I want more. No more cop shows. You think I won't fucking hunt all of them down and torture them in your TV shows? If you continue this way, I'll just find a way. You turn on your cop show, instead I'll be standing there and I'll just be walking as a person down the street in the background of the cop show. Then I'll look around, look at the camera, walk up, grab the fucking director, pull him into frame, grab the actor, force them to kiss, and then smash their little tiny rotted sugar skulls in. Oh, the sexuality, That's what I promise all of you.
This is a shitty sheet and a $35 light I couldn't afford years ago. Some of the lights are already broken on it. Stop pretending that that's worth money. Stop pretending that's worth money.
Stop pretending that our genius of pulling ourselves up each day and trying to make something out of life means that we're primo. Stop! to all the actors that want to continue in TV or movies in the future, you better fucking guard your fucking thoughts. Eat fucking real food pyramid meals like you're addicted to anyways. What, you think about some nut, some healthy syrup, some vegetable, and you just say, no, even though that would really help me and give me more energy, what if I gained a gut? What if I ate it too much? You're all dead. You don't eat anything.
Yeah, date syrup is delicious, and it's just dates that
Yeah.
have been turned into a liquefied sludge. I love that. Tastes great.
Yeah.
Just pointing it out, you could eat Pili and CO. It's just concentrated. What's it called? Not concentrated even. It's just sugar cane squeeze-ins, and then they pour it into a mold, and it's just a crystallized chunk.
Yeah. So I guess
It's a
since I
juice.
ranted this much, to be fair, I and a few Mexicans and even fewer of other races, we've banded together, we've survived all the mental attacks of your fucking civilization against us. We've banded together with spiritualism. We're starting to build a new society. And as we do it, you can just feel the sugary, shitty old people crumbling wherever you live, right out of your fucking heads, as we get any happiness or any concepts of future happiness in our brains. Concepts. Then you attack at the brain more. Oh, there's concepts in there, boys! You're all gonna die.
I'm miserable constantly. I'm miserable. I'm miserable beyond miserable. Miserable because everybody cheats at every video game. Well, I'm a nerd. I've spent my entire fucking life getting good at third-person and first-person shooters. You don't seem to understand. You know when somebody's good at tennis, when somebody's good at football? It's not a sport even. It's just a certain style of movement. It's just an infinite brain pattern. And I have these upstart fuck faces, the same type of people that are man-child murderers with disgusting voices, all just acting like I'm shit at any fucking video game, and that they won't have it. They won't let me talk as I scream over them and mute them. At the same time, I won't let them talk. They've gotten so violent. Because how dare I say that they're cheating and that their false achievement is nothing, because I don't believe that they're not cheating, because they're always cheating, because I would know. Because here's the real facts. All the tournaments for video games, not that anybody pays attention, they're all cheating. And you know they are because they're too accurate. They never make a mistake. They never do anything that's ill-advised.
Look at
Even once
Rocket
they
League.
work like robots to do whatever task it needs to be done in the
Okay.
game with 100% accuracy while also doing cheating.
Yeah. Everybody's a
correctly.
Wi-Fi signal. Their brains, four old people that are crystallized light energy concepts that are probably secretly beetles pulling levers in your brains, are
Dung beetles.
they reach these protocols where if someone's just too skillful at a video game like Quake or Rocket League, here's some examples, Halo, there's other ones, then they reach lockout protocol where they just say they identify the game as happening in any way, then all of humanity Wi-Fi signals together and creates a single stream of infinite light data to attack whoever's computer, overwhelm even their concept of what's happening in their computer in the game, and then say that each time you spawn, everybody on the map, they have sniper rifles, they have regular guns, they're shooting you from a mile away, pew, 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 all whipping around shooting you as you appear everywhere around them. They lock out into that when you're too good. And with Rocket League, I wasn't even that good yet. You know, it takes a few months of training to get good at a video game, but they were already locked into the moment they announced Rocket League from Psionics, the company, that they were psionic, they were the cults of the Roger universe, and they had these porpoises, like these maneuvers, like they're wave dancing across the air, and they're balancing the ball spinning on their nose, and they're cute animals, and they're this and they're that. Nobody stopped them when they'll murder at you. As my frame rate was 2 frames a second, as they're dancing around me, spinning around, beautiful ballerinas of energy, and I'm just a lowly slave in Idaho. year after year after year while I sat there in terrible cancer agony, feeling my blood roil and pop as I just thought, killing you, killing you, killing you. As I didn't really play because there's the 2 frames a second. Has everybody skipped over 2015 and 16 where what is that footage? I'm sitting there not moving. They're dancing around, declaring their 12 dancing Barbie princesses, and I'm a toad in a pond. Any baby thought they can have, then switch back to infinite murder and soldier training in their heads. Baby thought, soldier thought. Baby thought, soldier thought. The entire fucking time. Why do you think I'm killing all of you from the inside out? How many years do you think you can get away with that before I've trained to kill you?
Like I said, I'm playing in the lowest tier, allegedly, of any game. They always put me in the lowest tier, even though that's impossible, you know? I play competently. And the point is that all these fucking murderers, the same type of fucking murderers who think that because they beat somebody in a video game, they get to murder them in real life. This is not a joke. This is not a fucking joke, and you're fucking supporting them. They just act like, oh, you better not ban them as the company, or else they'll murder you at the company now. They don't care. That's what I'm talking about. They have a hit list, and they don't care who you are. They're just man-children with disgusting, rotting beards eating raw meat. And they just do whatever the fuck comes into their little shitty fucking heads. No matter how putrid, no matter how insane, they get shitty ideas, and they act like as if, they're special because they get to be in a game with somebody like me.
Then they
instead of a regular player.
They intimidate all of Hollywood, even the supposed younger people. They're just allowed in their own whimful thoughts, like as though everybody's bending over backwards for people who just send a thought their way that they're a little perturbed that they're making some content they don't like, and they stop! As though Hitler himself came in. And no one even showed up. They just felt something in their brain like someone didn't like it. Then all production is shut down instantly. So, what I'm saying is, every single fucking actor made criminal content. They shut down whatever they were doing, said, I feel like criminals have won. Then they went into a criminal endeavor script content production and made content for murdering and enslaving criminals that want to eat their flesh. Because they're scared of those criminals.
What do you think?
While saying tee-hee, it doesn't really matter.
Thor Ragnarok is nothing but murdering Hulk being a murderer.
The whole movie. Then they shut down all of Marvel because Hulk, he wins against Thor. Then no more Marvel movies. This was back in the era when they said, no, there is no satisfactory ending even to Thanos. They were shutting it down in 2017. They said all movies were done. They stole all content from other movie series, made one shitty movie where the bad guys win, and said all of Marvel was shut down because we were starting to come up with ideas, me and Grant, and lay them in place for porno, majestic Marvel movies to start happening at that point.
And to be clear,
then they start murdering at us because Marvel's not shutting down.
But to be clear, I had no idea of that. I had a conversation in my fucking kitchen where I said the only place that they could go with the WandaVision TV show in 2017, because it came out then, was just that she would enter the Doctor Strange universe and the continuing craziness of her behavior. You have to realize this is more like a conversation and less like we're even directing it. We just said this would be cool and that would be cool. And then we're being punished for saying that we, like we have ideas.
Yeah.
You have to realize they're suppressing people's freedom to talk, to think, to exist.
Then they say magic suppressed till 2020. Then Corona is the same as magic being afoot. Then we go to watch the movie that we made up all those years ago at theaters. Then magically the Mormons have a magical woman floating around, misting at everyone, attacking us willy-nilly, illogically on recorded video. Where are those videos?
Right?
No one's reacted to that. Has it not happened in time and space for all of you? Yeah, right.
Fucking right.
Yeah, right. It's absurd. So, the magic bullshit also happened in 2012. Random criminals appear out of thin air and say, I'm robbing this store. I sure hope Ammon's not in it. As it's all a setup and I'm standing there, then no one's gonna stop me. I'm glowy. I'm mysterious. I'm not kidding. Then I grip them by the throat. They shoot flames at me. They shoot ice at me. They do whatever the fuck they're gonna do, pathetically, as a little bit of frost appears or something. Then I'm like, all that cold, all that heat, all that channeling of different extremes out of all society at me, I take it. It stretches out into the weeks and months on either side of the conflict. I take it into my cancer. I roil it in there with every single fucking herb I eat. I roil at humanity. I create tongues of flame, and I send them back at every fucking person. That's what I do with my fucking time. I'm busy.
Like, I'll repeat one more fucking time so that you fucking listen. There is no such fucking thing as fucking online video games. You can ask your fucking children. They'll say, oh, hell no, I don't play online video games. But, you'll refuse to reach, to admit their consensus in articles on the internet. You'll just say, lol, my children don't play video games anymore because there's man children that just, would threaten them over the microphone, except most games that you're not allowed to talk to people anymore. They're so vile. You know what I mean? It's not like me saying, my penis is bigger than your whole neck, grow the fuck up. I could literally like kung fu whip my dick at you and break your leg and then like kick you off a cliff while shooting you like John Wick. John Wick the dick, like stupid comments. No, there's just man children just saying, I'm gonna fucking murder you.
Yeah, then they come in after they felt bold in 2019, after the fake military boys get weed and ignore everything. Then the criminals say, hey, I've invaded a military base. This is what they start saying at us in video games. I got drones with machine guns on them. It's hovering outside your window right now.
Imagine how juvenile of domestic terrorism that is.
Domestic
terrorism.
They're babies.
They're
stupid.
Juvenile
and they just hope. Then when you say, that's really stupid, that's like what a little child would say. They just go, oh yeah. And then they actually have an ego and imagine society has replaced children with criminals and old people, and they wait for the feeling like they're a cat getting stroked on someone's lap for saying something stupid like a child would, but because they want to kill someone, you understand. Then free energy as everybody looks at their children and says, why can't I just kill my children and have a criminal appear there in miniature form right there where that child is? I know your fucking thoughts.
And I'll repeat again, because I want to repeat it again. The reason there's no fucking television is because criminals are too fucking lazy to even go searching out for any entertainment on the internet. They're too fucking stupid. They just watch the same reruns of Seinfeld, where at the end season, everybody goes to fucking concentration camp for no reason. Because that's funny, right? Seinfeld's pandering to them. That's allowed on television, right? These shows where you actually observe them. Bullshit. The end is just like, literally, of most of them is just, everybody dies. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
All-encompassing negativity. All-encompassing. While you act like as if there's anything to do, anything to be, anything to exist like, but no, you couldn't do that because a criminal might be annoyed. Oh.
Yeah, you have no activities left in your day that a criminal wouldn't kill you for because you've let them. In your own mind, I mean. Not that they would, because that's stupid. Nobody cares about anyone.
Yeah, so what? Everybody's supposed to get even weaker, take even more fucking steroids generationally like they have been since the 1950s just because they want to be bigger than the other kids in the playground. They want to be bigger than everybody. You're criminals. You're criminals. You're criminals. You're criminals. You are inherently criminals for constantly acting like steroids, then you're sexy, when everyone knows that too much testosterone imbalances your hormones, then you can't reproduce. You're criminals. You're trying to kill your sex drive. You're trying to kill humanity. You're trying to spend more time indoors, not get any sun, trying to convince your body the last steps that you don't need anything in life. The criminals can just murder you in your houses for no fucking reason.
The Limitless show, the college professor looking man who couldn't be at a college because he chopped his own hand off to feel more evil. Well, he's running the old folks home made up out of thin air for the last episode. And he just says to Chris Hemsworth, isn't it like a God-given miracle that infections have convinced everyone's brains to not have any worry about dying? Isn't it amazing? Isn't it a gift that you only care about protecting your family and not yourself? Isn't that great? Isn't that a positive? That's what he said, word for word, as close as I can remember. You think Chris Hemsworth liked hearing that from a missing limb man? A lot of the old people there had missing body parts because they were so evil they couldn't cut anybody else to pieces, so they cut themselves to pieces. Literally. That's what the show was. So, where are you hiding, everyone? How are these old people that are like this not in your neighborhood saying to your kids, yeah, I'm going to cut your lead. I'm going to cut you off at the knees, You're running faster than me now. How are these criminal old people not there if they're in his show? How is this not dealt with? It's going to be a lot of PTSD-riddled children in another 50 years. Then they'll be the people, who are slightly older. And then how do you think they'll treat the criminals then? What do you think they're going to do? A lot better and a lot worse. You know what I mean? Fucking thoughts. They'll think about what they're going to do and then do it realistically. Unlike society now,
who acts like they can always put everything off, and then they'll be safe because they're dodging responsibility. They all think they're children, and they're dodging responsibility.
Do you know how many fucking cultists I've wrestled with my life on the line as a teenager, as somebody who hasn't built up much strength yet, as these wiry fucking cultists come out of nowhere and say they're just trying to choke me and break my spine, just get an angle on me, it's all just fucking fun and games. And I'll tell you, just like it says in the fucking Bible, I fucking wrestle them and slowly break every atom of their being. I slowly rend every light particle out of them. Then when they're an empty, broken husk, I toss them aside and say, what cult is next? I'm gonna survive. All humanity are ants and you're all gonna die. That's my whole statement, my whole life. So, you guys have what? Until March? You're gonna fucking run out of time. We're almost out of time, and I don't see any fucking changes for us. I don't see one fucking improvement. Where's my fucking girlfriend? Where's my fucking sports car? Where's my fucking vacation?